You don't want to talk at all about
No.
why?
Podcast.
I just woke up. I'm still drinking my coffee. Let's get the show on.
Are you sure you're mentally ready? Are you prepared for this video? You don't need to.
Yeah, because Brittany's gonna give me way more than you are, so it's gonna rile me up. Let's go.
Okay.
Is this in person? No, right?
No.
Okay. Is he still in Asia?
I have no idea, but I'm sure we'll find out.
What's their relationship? I'm confused. Because you guys' falling out was about them, kind of, right?
Not necessarily.
Or like her comparing you guys. Are they like
It was a little bit of it, but
very close?
we were not. Apparently, no, not at all. I guess.
No, them.
I don't think so either. But okay. Did you wake up on the wrong side of the balcony? Nice. Farha is quiet. That's because she is not speaking to. Okay.
I am.
There you go. Okay. Oh wait. Wait. Talk a few times. Hold on.
Hi. Is it working?
Okay. Try again.
Hi.
Okay. Hold on. You're so quiet. Okay. Testing. 1 2. Test. Test. Is this? Is this mic kind of quiet? It's kind of quiet. Okay, try again.
Hello.
Yeah, okay, that's okay. I think it's fine. Right, you think? Yeah, I think it's fine. Okay, are you ready?
Mm-hmm. Wait, so what's the context of this?
What's the context of... I don't know. I have no idea.
What is this titled?
Brittany Simon exposes the dark realities behind SNEAKO's mind.
Oh, you posted this? Okay.
He did, yeah. Okay, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to today's podcast. My name is Brittany Simon. In today's podcast, we are guested by SNEAKO. Hi, SNEAKO.
How you doing, Brittany? It's good to be back.
Good. So happy to see you. And his friend, Danya?
Danya, we were on the Pearl show yesterday. She's
Awesome.
she's well spoken, and she makes a lot of sense. She's actually has a similar worldview to you, Brittany.
Yeah.
But she didn't really get the chance to speak that much on the podcast because there's some loud feminists who just talk over the whole time. So I think she'd
Did it
be good to
ruin
have.
it? Well, I'm
Yeah,
excited to hear from you guys then. Go ahead, tell me.
Yeah, it just gives me a headache talking to these people. But Danya is a woman who makes sense.
Okay,
And,
I'm excited about that. How did you guys meet?
we met on the show yesterday.
Like literally yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, here's to new friendships, I guess.
You have any opinions about that?
That they met yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did make it sound like they were a lot closer.
Maybe
What did he
they're
say in
close.
that one clip that he has like 5 girlfriends right now?
I think that clip was from oh, no, wait. He couldn't have been talking about her on that show. There's no way.
So she heard all that and then felt compelled to join the
I guess so,
harem?
yeah. She wanted to be girl number 4 or 5, yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, that's exciting. How old are you? Well, tell us how old you both are.
I'm 24 and Danya's 22.
22. Okay, awesome. So I wanted to have you on the podcast, Nico, and of course I'm happy you're here as well. I want to talk about being exceptional. It's come up a lot, and I think because of where you're at in the world, I would argue that you are quite exceptional. But I know a lot of people
Is she,
don't
like,
want
in
to
love
think
with
that
him?
of you. And
What?
Is she in love with him?
No, her statement is fair. So he is an exceptional person. No?
No, but I'm just confused because isn't her thing like you guys had a falling out because she's hyper feminist and she felt like your takes weren't feminist enough or something? So I'm just confused why SNEAKO like meets her benchmark.
I wouldn't describe her as hyper feminist, but we'd have to dig into a whole bunch of stuff to get into all of that. Don't worry about our stuff. That has nothing to do with this. Okay, that's a totally separate thing. All right.
I was more so talking about them, but yeah, continue.
so I wanted to ask you, why do you think people have a hard time seeing you as exceptional?
I think a lot of people have their own agenda and they have a lot of ego. I think social media has done that, and we see it like in the podcast we were on yesterday. Everybody wants to be that voice of truth and thinks that they know everything, and I don't think people are willing to put themselves in a vulnerable situation to be completely honest. People don't like being wrong. People don't like being curious. And I think I add something to the social media space that's pretty uncommon when it comes to being curious and open-minded and being extremely honest. And I've been doing it for so long. I don't really come on acting like I know everything. I come on with a mindset of seeking. of seeking truth, which is rare. And I think I think a lot of it is jealousy. And also a lot of it is also arrogance and a lack of understanding. But this is why I like what you do, is that you come in with a lot of empathy, and not fake empathy, which is what I think a lot of women do now. That they a lot of times they can be patronizing in the way that they talk to men. And we saw it on the show last night. There's the way they talk to men, they'll do this fake empathy thing where they'll be like, "Oh, do you know how to fight?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know how to fight." "Oh, okay, that's good." It's like you have to qualify. It's like, "Oh, you're not a little bitch." Like, "Oh, you're like a big boy, huh?" And it's not. And they act like it's empathetic and understanding, because they'll be like, "Oh, that's really good. Oh, you're like a rumbler. Like you're like exceptional. Okay, that's whatever. They're kind of gay, but still." That's the way that they talk, and it's not really empathetic. It doesn't come from a place of understanding. It comes from a place of competition.
Do you, because one of the things I struggle with, especially when I start to express, interest in different people's belief systems and how people do things, I guess I see like parts of people I know in you, so I can humanize you very easily. Or I'm like, oh yeah, like I know people who have this mindset, or I know people just like this, and they're really good people. And so from knowing people similar to you, I'm like, well, I know they're good. And then I've talked to you a little bit, and I know you're good, and I know you have the best intentions. But do you think that it's ideology that really makes people think you have bad intentions? Or is there some part of you that secretly does have bad intentions?
I don't have bad intentions. And it's not just ideology. And I think the reason that you understand it is because probably the people that you're talking about are they younger than you?
Yeah, they can be. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what you are understanding is when I sound aggressive or when I sound straightforward, people will get off put by that. They're like, "Why is this guy like yelling at me? Like, calm down." Yesterday we did the show, and this girl said that I was vibrating with misogyny, and I've never heard that before. He's like, "Your vibrations are misogynistic," and it's I've never heard that in my life, which I thought was extremely stupid. But I do understand it, because there's people with the same ideology as me, but they come off and they explain it in a different way. And
This is not. This is kind of like a political thing that I do. Something that irritates me is that I don't like it when people always respond to like the worst faith arguments that the other side puts out. So like if I wanted to fight against like feminism, like my examples are just like the craziest feminists on a show. Like why not actually find the stronger version of their argument and fight with that? That's something that people do a lot that triggers the fuck out of me. And I think when you do that, you can always make sides look way fucking crazier than they actually are. Like imagine if I treated like the average conservative as somebody that believes in QAnon, or the average conservative as somebody that is like it's hard because a lot of average conservative beliefs are a little bit crazy today, but just not like addressing like the claims that they're making like seriously is I think it's kind of sad. And then I don't know. Do you want any comments on that, or are you good?
Wait, you're saying he's not addressing the feminist
No,
concerns,
like
or
when
he has.
I don't know if he could even in good faith state like what a feminist issue might be with like Andrew Tate. Like all he's going to do is appeal to the ones that are like, oh, they're saying Andrew Tate's a rapist, but they don't even know that. And it's like, yeah, those people are stupid. But he won't respond to like actual good faith criticisms or whatever, you know?
I mean, I didn't watch the podcast he's talking about. Did you?
No, but even like listening to how he's describing like oh, like feminists do this thing and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, But he also has a tendency to do that in conversations. Like as soon as he starts going, he's always going to be like steamrolling, like, yeah, they told you need to get the vax, otherwise you're going to blah this, and then the Matrix will do this and that and that and that and that. And it's never actually like engaging critically with any of the ideas. It's always just like, this is like my repeated talking points to like respond to the most extreme versions of the other side. Like, yeah, I don't know. Okay.
I come on pretty hard-headed and aggressive and debate style and loud, which they see it as like a personal attack. People get really off put by that. I've noticed in my life that people always explain to me that the way I'm speaking is off-putting to people. But I think that you kind of see past that and you don't really consider that as aggressive as other people do, which I could probably do better at articulating myself in that way to get through to more people. I can understand why women would say that I'm vibrating with misogyny, but in some sense, I don't really feel the need to go and change up my tone of voice for these people, because I think that they're already going to disagree with me regardless. The reason why I like Danya and why I like you, Brittany, is because I don't need to go and shift that up. I can just express myself properly and not have to readjust. Do you think that makes sense?
I think it's more about listening to what you actually have to say rather than
how you say it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Honestly, I run into the same problem. And maybe you guys too in your life. But people always tell me that, Brittany, change the way you talk differently, do it different. But the idea is that I'm supposed to be authentic, right? Isn't that the goal? So why would I switch it up? Now, I want to be a good communicator. So sometimes I'm not the best. But the way I talk, and maybe it's my Middle Eastern genes over here, but like it feels aggressive to people. But I don't mean it to be. It's just, that's just who I am personality wise. But I also am trying to reach a very specific audience. I know who my audience is, who I'm trying to talk to. So the question is, like, when you make content, who are you trying to talk to? Do you know?
Yeah, I know exactly who it is. So I like talking to the whole world. I want everybody. So I like having input in all.
This is personal and not anything to do with this, and I won't do many of these. I'm so sorry. But I feel like one of her largest criticisms of me was that I'm not aware that I'm talking to a bubble, but that I'm trying to talk to everybody. I feel like she criticized me on that like multiple times. So it's going to be really interesting if she lets SNEAKO get away with the I'm talking to the whole world thing without pushing back on that. But that's like a personal thing, I guess. It's not necessarily whatever, but
all types of conversations. I have a specific point of view, and I do have my core audience. I'm on Discord right now, and I just had to go put an announcement because we were getting warnings for anti-vaccine content and like violent. So my audience is on the same page as me. They understand it, but I like being a part of the bigger conversation. So I think I'm at a point where I do have the core people that listen, but also there's an equal amount of people that hate watch and that like to watch and disagree with me, which I don't think is a bad thing. I'm not really afraid of that. I like having open dialogue. I like having debate, and it doesn't really bother me if people don't like me.
Yeah. Danya, what about in your regular life? Do you ever see it? Are you a dominant personality yourself, or do you find yourself to be more stoic?
Yeah,
or
I think so. I think when encouraging people to do better in life, some people do take it as an attack.
Totally.
rather than advice or seeing it as someone wanting you to do better.
Totally.
You know?
I run into that all the time.
Definitely, I've been told about my tone of voice and stuff, but people just kind of need to see past that and
I'm sure you've heard me say it a bunch of times, SNEAKO, but like I really think everyone is so different. We all live like in these different bubbles, but I think that for me, I need to be kind of have my ass kicked a little bit. Like when I'm trying to be exceptional, when I'm trying to literally beat statistics, when I'm trying to be that person, it means that I have to defy whatever that default is, right? So how could I not be somebody who needs like a little bit of aggression to get that motivation going? And that aggression can be off-putting to most people, but if most people aren't doing the thing, I think it would be off-putting to them because they don't even know like how aggressive you have to be in certain areas to just get ahead. So I think there's a combination of those two things. Like even getting yourself to the gym takes discipline. And discipline is not something that I'm seeing quite frequently. Like, have you guys ever heard the saying, like, die for your values? Do any of you know? Like, do you ever grow up hearing that?
Like, respect, or death before dishonor.
Yes. Okay. A lot of people. I said that on stream the other day, and someone was like, "Who dies for their values? Who dies for their beliefs?" And I'm like, "What are you talking? The world is built off of men who died for their beliefs." So the idea that people are disconnected from that idea makes them cynical of you, because it makes them think, well, you know, what is SNEAKO really trying to do? And I think you're trying to be better, but I think that your process for being better looks offensive to other people. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you said it perfectly. And I want to thank you for defending me and saying that how authentic you think I am. Because, yeah, I think you got it spot on. It's just about... But at the same time, you need to figure out a better way of communication, like the most effective form of communication. My way of doing it, and I think our way is similar. It can be off-putting and aggressive to people, and it does add entertainment value when it comes to understanding.
Yeah.
You're going to have a hard time changing people's minds because they're so off-put.
Okay,
by how
I need clarification. I don't watch a ton of SNEAKO's content. Pretty much what I see is just like videos on TikTok, so maybe that's just me seeing the worst of him or like the most inflammatory of him, but they're making it sound like people's problem with him is with his tone versus like the contents of what he's saying. But I thought he like is inflammatory, like he tries to be inflammatory. Like the clips I see of him are saying like, oh, women are just good for pussy, I have a harem of women who are basically my slaves and assistants and stuff, like, which I get if he's trying to go viral or be like the next Andrew Tate, but then is he actually annoyed when people give him pushback? Like, isn't that what he wants? Isn't that like his viral model right now?
I think he's still like going through an exploratory phase to figure out what he wants his tone to be. So for instance, he kind of recently just came off a big fight with, you know who Moist Critical is? Where he was like flashing a gun on the screen, like saying like pull up basically. And then after he had that, he had a conversation with him about that. And after that conversation, I think this was like a couple of weeks ago, after that, he was like, I think I need to be like less mean to people and more love of Jesus or some bullshit. So maybe this is like a new step forward that he's trying to do, where he's not trying to be as inflammatory. Yeah, that still seems to be a thing that he's trying to sort out. So I don't know where he's at.
But aren't they talking about the podcast where he says the thing about having like a harem of servants? Like, isn't that...
Yeah, but I don't know if that's inflammatory. I think he genuinely believes that like that's a good thing and he's trying to do that. I don't think he's trying to be inflammatory. He's just talking about all the wonderful women that he's got working for him now because he's trying to build. You don't think
he's just trying to sound like Andrew Tate?
He's trying to sound like Andrew Tate, but I think he's trying to be genuine. He's not trying to sound inflammatory. He's trying to say that like a powerful man should have like a harem of women doing work for him. Okay. I think he genuinely believes it. I don't think he's being inflammatory. You know? Or he's not trying to be inflammatory. You know?
You're saying it. They're focused on the way you're saying it rather than what you're saying. So your message does get lost. Absolutely. And if you want to be the most effective communicator, you would get past that. But that's a constant thought process I have. It's like, are these people even really worth trying to get through to? Are these people are they really stuck in their ways, or are they worth changing? You know, if the people that are capable of change, they have to want to change.
Yes.
And I think the people that want to change would understand it, but the people that were never going to change, they won't be able to hear it. So it's this balance, and but eventually I think that is the best form of communication.
Yeah, there's something to be said, you know, growing up in a house. I have 9 siblings, and so I'm used to all these personalities and and I'm the oldest of 7 of them. So I have 2 older brothers, and then the rest are like my little siblings, and they come to me and they'll say things like, hey, what do you think I should do with this? And how do you think I should do this? And every time I give them advice, they still pick their own path. Ultimately, I can only give them my advice, and then they have to do the journey they're going to do. And do I sometimes get insane anxiety over the like mistakes my brothers make sometimes? Yes. But they are learning the same I learned. Every time I messed up, every time I did something poorly, every time I didn't understand why it didn't work for me, I had to reconstruct my perspective to actually attain my goals. I had to change. I had to radically change. And that was very difficult. Honestly, sometimes I felt like I wasn't going to make it through the change. Have you ever felt that way, like through a transformation where you're like, I've really got to do this, or I'm not going to make it?
No, I never have a defeatist mindset when it comes to that. I always know that I'm going to come out as a better person. It's just sometimes I wish I could, well, this is a stupid thought, but I'm like, I wish I could just fast forward to the end part where I've already figured this part out.
Totally.
But you have to enjoy the process of the work. If you don't enjoy it, then it's going to be grueling, and you have to enjoy it to the best of your ability every moment of life.
I agree with you.
Yeah?
If you don't enjoy what you do, then it's going to feel like a chore every day. And if you love what you do and you do it for free, then you never work a day in your life. So
I hate advice like this because it doesn't apply to like 99% of people. Have you ever seen there's like 4 circles explaining I don't even know what they're called, and I'm not going to be able, but it's like it explains like the trifecta if you can do it. One is like something you love, another thing is like something you're good at, and then another thing is like something that's like spiritual fulfillment, and another thing is like something that like serves your community. And it's like, if you can find something here, it's like the golden fucking best thing in the world. But the reality is that most people have to like compromise. Like you do something that you're good at that like has value, and then you use that to invest in like things that you love that are good for your community. People are saying it's called Ikagi. I don't know what the fuck that might be it. Ikegai? Gimbop? Oh, this shit. What you love, what the world needs, what you get paid for, and what you're good at. Like this is, yeah. But usually you have to combine like a couple of these things, and then you work on the other things. Like I think the goal for most people in life, red pillars try to sell you this idea that you should live the ultimate life, but truly the goal should be find a job that you don't fucking hate, you get paid like good money at, and then use that to fund your vacations, your hobbies, the things that you really love that bring you joy in life. I think that should be like most people's goals. But do you have any input on that?
Yeah, I heard you kind of talk to SNEAKO about this. It's like, oh, not everyone can be a YouTuber, but I don't think those are like the only types of professions that fit into the Ikagi. Like I think being a doctor and a lawyer, like, isn't that also utilizing the Ikagi model? Like I would say most professions could fall into it. Obviously, like if,
what
if
you're
like
saying,
a garbage man or slang, probably not, because you're not going to love doing that. But you kind of fit the other categories. But I would say like the average profession it's very doable to hit all those boxes, right?
It can be, but they never talk about those ones, right? Like if they were saying things like, if you really want to like serve and do all this, blah, 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 like you should try really hard to become like a lawyer or doctor. That's not what they're saying. They're saying you should grind, hustle, set, and find the right crypto to invest in so that you can like sail yachts and do that, right?
Yeah.
Like what you're saying is true. There are those like really difficult to obtain jobs that have, that are laborious, education intensive, et cetera. But these guys are never pushing for stuff like that. It's always drop shipping.
YouTuber, yeah.
And YouTubing, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why I keep uploading videos, but here I am. Like, and you know what? I just hit my first 6 figures, so I was pretty proud of myself. It finally happened.
Congratulations.
Thank
In a
you.
month?
But no, God, oh please, SNEAKO, please. I'm poor as hell. No, in a year. No, I just finally reached my first 6 figures, and that's a big deal for me because I was a person who like struggled with like being financially set, thinking about business, being business minded, and I feel like I'm just starting that. And you're so young. You've already succeeded way past. Like, do you ever feel intimidated by your own, like where you are so young?
No. Actually, I never feel that way whatsoever. I just compare myself to people that are more successful. Like I listened to Central C a lot recently. I think he's in London too. He's around the same age as me. He just dropped an album called 23, which is just documenting his life at 23. Just listened to the lyric before I went out to dinner, and he was talking about how like he can't die now because he hasn't made 100 million yet. And I hear that, I'm like, man, I gotta step my game up. Like, I could have been more productive today. Why am I not making 100 million? Like, sometimes I overslept this morning, and it's like, why am I wasting any time laying in bed?
I hate that all of these red pillars, they do this thing, and I push Fresh and Fit on this. I think I pushed SNEAKO on this when I was on the show. I always say that, like, your guys' marketing is always such fucking ass, because they always claim that, like, the society we live in leaves you spiritually, like, destitute, and all you guys talk about are, like, Bugattis and cars, and every time I'm on their shows, I always say, that's not all we talk about. Like, that's just the reward that follows. Like, that's not all we talk about. But anytime you listen to them talk, when, like, I'm not pressing them, or they're not being pressed on it, it's always, like, this shit. Like, oh, I gotta live to make 100 million. I gotta live to make 100 million. Like, and it's like, come on, like, there's got to be more to life than that. I don't know. It's irritating because it's so consumerist driven, you know, like.
Yeah, doesn't that overlap with like the Matrix values that they always?
Yeah, it literally is the Matrix, right? You're trying to do the things that are going to make the corporations the happiest, so that you can get money and spend it, and like tell other people to be consumers and do the same, you know. Like Hassan doing it is bad enough, but SNEAKO too? Like, come on.
Yeah, it surprises me to hear SNEAKO say this because he's the guy who always says like views don't matter. Don't like let a number on your screen like dictate your values and stuff like that.
Well, he used to say that. I don't know if he would anymore. I'm not sure.
He said that when we all hung out. Because I said, do you guys want to film content? And he was like, you let a number on a screen dictate your life.
Yeah, but that's different, though, because he probably thought that you were trying to just use him for content. And he didn't want to film, so he just says that instead.
Yeah, he just said it.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Except he was down to do it for 5 to 7K.
True.
But
yeah. Because if you were the better version, okay, if you were actually Mia Khalifa, he would have done it. But since you're just Farha, he was like, fuck no, not enough viewers. He's like Hassan, you know, clout brain.
What platform is Mia Khalifa getting views on that isn't Pornhub?
I have no idea.
That's getting
actually.
More views than me. What are you talking about?
I don't know.
You just want to neg me?
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue.
Did it work? You sound pretty negged right now.
Yeah.
Good.
Like scrolling for a little bit when I could be making $100 million, when I could be influencing more people, when I could be making a different video that I've never made before. Like I don't ever look at the place in my life and get complacent. I just look at people who are doing better, who are more motivated, who are doing more than me. I'm like, man, why am I not in that position? Because I don't see anybody else having an unfair advantage compared to me. I see it as we're all dealt the same hand. And
what do you think about that?
What?
That like he has no unfair advantage. Like, do you agree that everyone kind of has the same chance of going viral or being like a YouTuber or making easy money?
No.
Why?
Because that we argued over this. Like, he's been making YouTube videos since he was like fucking what, 14, 13? So clearly his chances are going to be way higher. And the fact that you even have that opportunity means that you already were blessed with so many things that you didn't do anything to deserve, right? Like there were portions of my background from 13 and onward where my family was like pretty poor. But prior to that, like we had a family home computer. Back in my day, we have it was like one computer in the family room because there weren't a ton of them. But like, so like the fact that I had that and the ability to practice and play on that, if I didn't have that growing up, I probably wouldn't have been a streamer. Or the fact that my parents could buy me a PlayStation, man, I played games, and gaming is how I got into it. And I didn't do anything to earn that. I was just a kid that happened to be born in the right place at the right time. Like lots of people have different types of advantages. It's important to recognize that, but then it's also important to not let that destroy you, right? Where you're saying that like, oh, well, because I'm a black person, because I'm a woman, because I'm poor, I can't ever do anything. But it's good to be aware of them, I think. Yeah.
the only reason that I'm not at the same point as somebody else is just lack of self-discipline and a lack of a strong work ethic. I don't. Yesterday we were having this discussion, and I noticed a lot of people in my generation, they use things like racism to hold them back. Like, oh, I'm black, so I can't have this, or I'm an immigrant, so I can't be here, and this is like misogyny and all this stuff. And that type of mindset, that defeatist mindset, which is essentially what it is, that will hold you back more than any other circumstance in life. So I think that if you detach your mind from anything that's going to hold you back that you have no control of, even if racism does exist, your belief that is holding you back is stronger than the racism that's actually out there.
So this is true. I think that people do get really defeatist. Like, it might be true that you're like have some disadvantages or whatever, but if you start to like fixate on that shit, it's like the most self-destructive thing in the world, I think.
Yeah, I follow this like Russian vlogger girl. She's super pretty. She does like lifestyle content, and she talks about how like she sells this course, and as soon as you sell a course, people are gonna get mad at you and think that like you're, I don't know, ignoring your privileges, whatever. And people were telling her like she only has a following because she's like pretty or whatever. She has pretty privilege. Not everyone could do what she does. And she was like, that's not true. Like, there's millions of pretty girls who don't make, you know what I mean, like 7 figures or whatever. And she was just like, the only 2 privileges that I have, you guys also have, which is Wi-Fi connection and iPhone, which basically everyone in America has at this point. So I don't feel like it's race or any of these things that necessarily hold people back. I would say like there's privileges in terms of like intellect and creativity and other things, right? So I don't know if everyone has an equal chance, because I think if you're fundamentally an uncreative person, even if you have like an iPhone and a Wi-Fi connection, I don't think you can necessarily like do what SNEAKO does. But I don't think the privilege is race, right, or gender when it comes to at least internet stuff.
Yeah, there's definitely privileges that like influence you, but like arguably the most important privilege you can probably have right now if you're in the United States is that you were born in the United States.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's not like black people aren't slaves here right now, and like people have generally like access to like computers or infrastructure and shit. Like, yeah, you can't. Yeah.
I was thinking about that yesterday in relation to my parents. I was thinking like it's crazy how different my life is from theirs just because of time and place. Like, I don't think I'm any smarter or more creative than my parents, and they're cashiers and make minimum wage. The fact that like just because I was born here, you know what I mean, and I can now have access to this whole world just because now I'm used to it, and you know what I mean, they just didn't grow up to it and they're not accustomed to it. Yeah.
So I like to separate myself from that and never get complacent, and just anybody who's doing better than me, I should be there too.
Okay, what if you, because this is how I think of it, and I think you just kind of said it in your own way. I think that I would say, that's funny, our language is so different, but I think we have the same message. I would say we're all dealt different cards. We all grew up in different environments. But if you eradicate like what your culture has taught you or what the bubble is making you think, we're all actually the same. We're humans on a planet. And then we're all playing the game of survival. And then we're playing the game of success. And then we're playing the game of maybe being a good family member. And then we're playing like different versions of our life. But you are raised in an environment where the game is a little different. So I'm always like, learn the rules of the game, then destroy the game, then make a new game or play a different game. Does that kind of translate? Versus, because I was born a woman, you were born a man. Those are different lives. But ultimately, we're both just people on a planet trying to do our best.
Yeah, and it just attaching yourself to anything that's going to make you a victim or hold you back. That's just, I think it's really important for anybody watching to remember that that's a stronger force pulling you back than any other circumstance. Even though, like, of course, there's advantage that I have as a man that you don't have as a woman.
Sure.
But complaining about it more, that's
won't get you anywhere.
It doesn't help.
Yeah.
It doesn't help. All it does is just hold you in your same spot.
Well, it's kind of like negative looping, right? You don't want to think to yourself every day, I'm not worthy. You want to think to yourself, I'm going to either earn that worthiness by being disciplined, or I'm going to prove to myself that I'm good enough. And I think that comes from the desire to believe in yourself, which I don't think everyone is exactly at, or they're not there yet. So is a part of your work trying to get people to the point where they do believe in themselves?
The point where I'm at, what I do with live streaming, I want to get people to unplug themselves from the same things that held me back before. And I see that, I describe it as just, most of it is woke ideology. Most of it is wokeness. These ideas were given to us, and these ideas were fed to us, not because they care about justice. Like when you see something censored because of misinformation, the misconception that most people have is like, oh, they care about misinformation. No, they don't. They are trying to push a specific narrative to keep us all complacent and to keep us satisfied with being mediocre, while the people who are feeding us these lies, they enjoy a life that we are never going to even fathom is possible, because we're all arguing about racism and George Floyd, or whatever was in the news today, whatever celebrity drama happened, whatever climate, like whatever they tell us to be concerned about, that ultimately we have no control about. People protesting the war in Ukraine, like, you are not going to stop this war. Why have you been fed this? Have you been told to care about Ukraine because you're going to stop the war, or to keep you distracted and to keep you emotionally invested into something that you have no control over, so that you feel like you're doing something while you actually have no control over this?
One of the biggest irritating things I have for a lot of conspiracy theory driven people is sometimes they'll point to actual problems, but they put so much malintent behind it that probably doesn't exist. So like, for instance, people aren't feeding you celebrity news because they're trying to keep you weak and destroyed. They're doing it because people like watching celebrity news, and it's easy money to make. And like, does it leave you like weak and not paying attention to the world? Yeah, probably. But it's not like a deliberate evil process. It's just like companies giving people what they want. Yeah, I don't know. Which, I mean, you can argue that's like a bad thing, or it probably is a bad thing, but it's different than like a malicious, like top-down plan to destroy the world. I think is annoying.
The most power that we have is becoming the best versions of ourselves, is improving, is being more impactful and truthful with your voice, and having a closer connection to God. That is the strongest thing that we are all capable of. But that's harder to believe if you're distracted by all the garbage that you see in the news and on your phone. That's an easier thing to attach yourself to emotionally and mentally. So my purpose is to get people to realize that these things, they're all psyops. They were not designed because they care about you. They were not designed so that you can go and protest it away. It was given to you as a false sense of purpose, and that's not your greater purpose. Your greater purpose is much bigger than that. So I want people to understand like why they are emotionally invested into these things. Like who people should question their worldview more often. A lot of people have really strong opinions and they're really emotional about what they believe in, and I don't really think that they even know why. Like they'll make a scrunch face, or they'll say something like, "You're vibrating with misogyny," and it's like, why do you?
Somebody said that phrase and it triggered the fuck out of him. I've never heard that phrase in my entire life before. Have you?
I haven't, no.
Somebody's vibrating with misogyny? I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that before. Somebody must have said it on that podcast to him, and it really triggered the fuck out of him or something, I guess.
Yeah. Is it bad that I like get what he's saying? I just feel like the examples are bad because he's choosing the most like politicized one. He talked about like George Floyd, BLM, so it's gonna come off like he's saying like, oh, racism, talking about racism is just a distraction. But I feel like if you take away the actual examples, like the content of what he's saying is, like, I don't see a problem with the content of it in itself. Like he's saying like just focusing, being like a tragedy whore and just focusing on like negative news and thinking you're making more of an impact tweeting than just helping the people who actually have at arm's length and your family and like your community. That's more impactful, right? Isn't that the crux of it?
Yeah, I agree with you, but I think the examples are really important because it shows you like what the person is really saying, because at some point you can get so vague in general that it doesn't matter. So for instance, somebody's saying like, listen, the most important thing you need to do is you have to get rid of the people in your life that are keeping you down. And I think as a community, we need to work to encourage people to be in a certain way to prevent these kind of like energy leeches or vampires from just like kind of sucking, all of our drive and motivation out from everywhere, right? And that's why we have to get rid of the Jews. Right. The first like general advice would be okay, but if the examples are giving on the second part, yeah, or because everything the red pill people say in regards to like women is generally pretty good on an abstract level. Like women are there to be protected and respected, and they can contribute well to our lives. The way we protect them is by making it so they never go outside, never post on Instagram. The way they contribute is by being sex workers for us. And the way they, so it's like, so I think the examples are important because when you speak in like the vague general things, it's going to sound like, oh yeah, this is like kind of cool, I could buy into this. But then as soon as they start getting the examples, like, okay, it feels like we're in really, really different areas,
So would you say like his diagnoses are correct, but his prescriptions aren't? Or are you saying because of the examples, it makes the diagnoses also like fundamentally incorrect?
No, I think everybody, if you're human, you can understand the diagnosis. I think almost everybody can. Like it's easy to go into the world and be like, man, a lot of people kind of have like a victim mindset. A lot of people hate each other right now. A lot of people aren't contributing well to their communities. Like those are easy things. And I think that the challenging part is like, well, what do we do about it? First of all, what's causing it, right? And when they get to the causes, they're fucking retarded. It's Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum and the Matrix and blah, blah, blah. And then what do you do about it? You unplug from everything and you just watch a bunch of conspiracy videos, and that's how you like free yourself, right? That's always the issue. A lot of people get the diagnosis well, and when I say diagnosis, they can at least identify a problem. Like, people are pretty good at that. But for a lot of people, that's enough to like, oh my God, like, I want to follow everything you say. Like, as soon as you're like, I don't know. A lot of these guys remind me of like a prescription. Fuck, I feel like I saw a joke for this on, it was Family Guy or Rick and Morty or something, or some song. I don't remember. But it's like, there'll be a commercial comes like, do you feel tired every day? Are you grumpy sometimes? Do you ever feel like you're not achieving your maximum potential? Then here's the drug for you. And it's like, oh shit, like I've got that. Like that's me, dude. What do I need? Like, you know? Yeah. And it feels like sometimes that's, yeah, I don't know. But.
Why do you even think that?
Yeah.
What led you to this point? Why do you think that motherhood is oppression? Why do you think that girls need to be rapping and girl boss queens? Like, who fed you this idea?
Like, see, now that he's getting
the
more examples,
would be
it's
so
like,
much stronger, if you just didn't use
the examples. But I think the examples are good because then it shows you what he's actually talking about, right? Like, we need to empower women to be strong in society. That's a good message. We need to empower them by showing them that like all of these rappers and girl boss people are toxic and they need to go back to motherhood. Like, okay, well, now it feels a lot different, you know? Yeah.
I don't think people even analyze why they have these thoughts. It's hard to get to that point, but and when I explain this to people, they get aggressive because I challenge them, and sometimes it can be really personal because some people they really construct their entire identity around these beliefs. So that's ironic coming from SNEAKO, who's talking about like the Matrix every fucking 2 days. It feels like that's like his entire belief system, but whatever. You call that out, it feels like you're calling them out personally, but I think it's effective.
Right. Now, okay, this is so interesting. You know, the way you talk about wokeness is how I felt growing up in the 90s and 2000s about the conservative movement of that era, where I was like, why are you telling me to be this way? Why are you saying this is the only way?
What?
How old is she?
I want to say like 30.
Oh, she looks so much younger.
Yeah.
I thought she was my age.
Fuck. No. Okay.
Way it can be, I want to be any way I want to be successful. So how do you define success? You know, what is success for both of you? I'd love to hear what you both think is once you reach it, you'll be like, I am successful. Or are you successful now? You know, how do you view it?
Well, I think I agree with Danya, and this is why I like her. I think success is just happiness. Success is quality of life. A lot of people have this idea that success is directly correlated to monetary value, and that's not really it. Success.
Then why do you say examples?
Yeah, why were all of his examples? Yeah, and the sad thing too is that I feel like if you would ask SNEAKO like 2 or 3 years ago, I feel like it would have been a little bit different because he took a lot of pride in his videos, right? I've made you watch these fucking videos. They're good videos, and I feel like he would have said before, like, oh, if I put out a video, I feel like it exemplifies the things that I believe. If I feel like it was a high like artistic merit and quality, like these are the things I care about. But now today it's like, oh man, like that guy said he wants to make $100 million before he dies. Why am I not making $100 million, right? And it's like, what, that's really your comparison? I don't know, it's just sad. But
is just happy. I think the most successful person is a person who's happiest, because that's the point of life is creation, and also to live the happiest existence and live the fullest life possible.
The thing I've been trying to figure out is whether like he's not necessarily spiritually bankrupt. He's just using these examples of like wanting to live on yachts and like this life of glamour to get people in the door to his ideology, or whether he's actually just like split on it and like part of him really does want, because he's shit talking like the idea of being obsessed with celebrities and romanticizing their lives, but then he's also kind of
obsessed with Andrew Tate.
Yeah, or just wanting the same lifestyle of just like extravagance and stuff. But again, I don't know if he's doing that because he knows people are you know, kind of like inherently drawn to that lifestyle. So if he's on a yacht, it's going to get people to like click on him and think, oh, he's successful, let me listen to what he has to say. And then once they're in the door,
but like,
says this shit.
Yeah.
Whoops, sorry.
So I don't know. Yeah, if he's just
I don't think you can sell it that way. I think it comes off differently. Like if I say like welcome guys, here I am in my $20 million mansion. You saw my Instagram stories last week where I came off my yacht. We were sailing around in the Gulf. Anyway, I'm here to tell you today about how the simple things in life are the most important.
Yeah.
And it's like, it doesn't really hit that the same way. Like, it doesn't really feel like very believable, you know?
Yeah.
So if his constant life is exemplifying all of the like, here's a photo of me next to Donald Trump, here's a photo of me on a yacht in Dubai, here's a photo of a beautiful scenery, blah, blah, blah. Like, none of it is like simple, like cool shit that makes you appreciate like the nicer things in life. It's all like hyper materialistic, hyper consumeristic, I think.
Yeah, it is. It's also, but I guess his point as well is also that like, he's transcended like the quote unquote matrix. He's not in the rat race anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess he needs to do a better way of showing that, other than just the fact that he's on a yacht. Like he should show it by just the fact that he's like living the life he wants to live that doesn't involve working a 9 to 5.
Sure.
But that doesn't necessarily, I don't know how else you'd visualize that though to people. I don't know.
Well, I mean, like showing you, I guess, having fun in life, like doing relatively simple,
Yeah.
chill things would be cool.
Yeah.
Like, why not like videos of him like playing basketball with friends,
That's
or
true.
videos of, like just shit like that, or videos of him like on a countryside, I guess, like maybe going hiking or something. Like it's never stuff like that. It's like on the $100 million super yacht and shit, you know? Yeah.
I think a lot of people have this mindset that if they make more money, then they'll be happy or they'll be successful. But happiness isn't something you can really chase. It's something that you find within yourself. And I think it takes a long time for a lot of people to realize that. Because there's millionaires, billionaires, and they have all the money in the world. They can buy whatever they want, and they're not happy.
Right.
Right. And when I compare myself to the person making 100 or wanting to make
Okay, now I realize he's gonna go back and say it, and now he's gonna say, when I compare myself to that person making $100 million, I don't mean that I need to get that kind of money. I just mean I need the same type of drive that was making them create that content. That's where he's going with this now.
100 million. It's not because I really want that much money. You don't need that much money. It's the pursuit. I think that's the masculine imperative, is to constantly pursue towards more and towards conquering and towards achieving as much as possible. I think that pursuit of that makes you happiest. And
So
but that's not true.
Is inherently valuable even if the object you pursue isn't valuable.
Exactly. There are pursuit of moral virtue would probably lead to what he's talking about. Pursuit of community driven activities, pursuit of having and caring for a family, maybe. But like to say like, well, hold on, I'm not a materialist. I'm just saying the pursuit of materialism will make you really happy. It's like, that's like, what?
Because then you could say the same thing about the people who are on Twitter all day pursuing, you know what I mean, what they think is activism, right?
Sure.
That goes against his whole point.
Yeah.
Of like, if you're pursuing something meaningless, then the pursuit's meaningless, except when it's about money, which makes no sense.
Yeah. Unless you value the money, right? Which he does. But
Well, he's saying he doesn't, right?
well, yeah, he's saying he doesn't, but he does, obviously. That's why the pursuit is important to him.
Do you think he actually does?
When you ask me if he actually does, that's a really hard question. Like
you were talking about how his older videos, he cared more about the like integrity of them versus the views and engagement. Do you still think like that's in there somewhere?
Maybe. I think that SNEAKO, if I had to guess, I think that SNEAKO is is very impressionable. And there are certain people that he looks up to, and there are communities that look up to those people, and he wants to be accepted by those communities. So right now, the person that he's like that is imprinted on him hard is Andrew Tate, and that's what he's trying to model all of his stuff after. So insofar as he feels like he's chasing and accomplishing that, he probably feels okay. Maybe there might be some deep part inside of him that's like, a lot of this feels a little bit silly and hollow and meaningless. I don't know if that part's in there anymore, but yeah, that would be my guess. But
it's weird because like from his old content, or at least what you've shown me, it feels like he's very comfortable going against the grain and like going against convention. So why do you think he did like drink Tate's Kool-Aid and like that whole red pill stuff? Do you think it's just because he was deplatformed, or wasn't he? I thought that like he went down this pipeline because he was deplatformed, but it's kind of the reverse, right? He was deplatformed because he already started doing this stuff. I
don't know. I don't know enough about his older. I don't know enough about his older stuff to know what was the turning point. Like I think I talked to him just as he was on his huge come up on his second channel, and it was because we were arguing over red pill shit. But I don't know what got him into red pill shit. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea.
It's just weird because he felt so comfortable criticizing like toxic culture in the sense of like he was like, oh, don't listen to these like hip hop artists, don't listen to these things, you know what I mean? So
or there's like old videos where we're watching where he's like criticizing the exact type of person he's become.
Yeah.
Like I'm standing in the back of a party, you know, trying to look mysterious against a wall because I want to get laid, and I see how fucking stupid that is, but I'm still going to try to do it even though it's stupid because I'm like such a person that like buckles to social pressure. Like these are things he said like in videos and shit.
Yeah,
so
that's why I was wondering if like deep down he doesn't actually believe these things. He's just doing it again as like a content strategy, or if again.
No, it's pretty genuine, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you saw we were arguing at dinner, right? And it was all the same shit, right?
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're working on something and if you have a specific goal and mission, then it's hard to really veer off in the wrong direction.
Okay, I'm so happy you guys said that, because there is this assumption that when people view, especially
people
your
say
work,
it was
SNEAKO,
lockdown. Do you think that's what it was? Do you think like all the lockdown stuff?
There's a joke that I broadly make that I kind of believe. COVID legitimately fucking destroyed half the world's brains. Like people lost their fucking mind in lockdown. I think that lockdown like served as kind of an acceleratory path for a lot of different things. So like for instance, if you believe the government had too much control, then like COVID and lockdowns and vaccines definitely reinforced your mindset on that.
If you felt like conservatives were apathetic people who were comfortable with like the death of poor people and minorities, then I guess.
Yeah, then COVID hyper accelerated that. If you believed in any type of conspiracy that like with the where did COVID come from? Like COVID definitely fucked over a lot of people's brains.
So you're saying he probably already was conspiracist then, and because you're just saying it exaggerates what's already there.
Maybe. I don't know. Like I said, I didn't follow his path close enough to truly know. He might have been somebody who's prone towards conspiracies. I haven't seen if he does that in his older videos and shit. I'm not sure, but it's possible.
That there's some sort of goal to be the richest in the whole world, as if money buys you, happiness or joy, So how do you sort of change that narrative around your image? Because I see you that way. That's how I see you. I see you as somebody who's reaching for something deeper and more meaningful. But for some reason, like, people can't see that in you. And why do you think that is?
I think because most people don't go into social media or go into the space with that intention. That's always been my intention. It's been creation. It's been artistic. And that's why I'm kind of shifting away. I haven't been live streaming as much because I'm just trying to create the best videos possible. I want to make the same stuff that I was making in like 2018, 2019 when I was making these masterpiece videos, because that's the happiest feeling I ever got. Like, of course, I'm making like good money now, but the most successful that I've ever felt is after making a video like Everything Happens for a Reason or Fake It Till You Make It at 20 years old, finishing the video, rendering it after like a week of making this, and then pressing upload, and then just letting this idea, this baby that I created, and then putting it out into the universe. That's the happiest feeling that I have. And so that, I think you understand that, but a lot of people get into this because, and this is why it's become so oversaturated, and there's so much noise and back and forth and drama and clickbait and extreme headlines, is because people get into this like, okay, I can make money off this. I can get influence off of this. They don't go into it with pure intentions. They see it as
and again, notice that like anytime it's never like, oh, like I saw this guy who made this video and it was awesome and I felt inspired, or oh, I saw this guy who did this piece of art and it just like inspired me. It's never that. It's always like, this guy's got a yacht, this guy's got a Bugatti, this guy's making this much money. It's always a comparison on dollar amounts. And it's weird because what he said earlier is contradictory to what he's saying now completely. Making the types of videos that SNEAKO's making, that's not going to get him $100 million. In fact, long form content is some of the hardest and least rewarding stuff to make, right? I don't know if you know this much because you're on TikTok. But like if you're on YouTube, like I make a fuck ton of money and the effort level for my shit is very, 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 very low. As compared to like, say somebody that takes a lot of time, takes like 2 or 3 weeks to like put together a really good video and release it, they're getting paid 1/20th that I'm getting paid. There's just, the reward for long form content is not monetary ever. Yeah. Destiny unfollowed me ever since I stopped visiting his streams so I can fix my sleep. Streamers are so sensitive. What a homosexual. Wait, what? Did I ever follow Zerko on?
It's me.
Where? Oh, nice. Did I ever follow Zerko on Twitter?
So funny.
Wait. I wonder if Mike is like talking a bunch of shit about me in the background to Zerka.
It's so funny. I'm pretty sure he's joking anyway.
I don't know. Why do you think he's joking?
Because all his tweets are jokes now.
Do you think so?
Genuinely, yeah.
I don't know. But
as a business, I saw it as a way, and I started YouTube like when it was in the golden age. I started like, I see this as a place of self-expression. I don't view it. I had to like retrain my mind to view it as a business, because when I was living in Harlem and I was making around like $2,000 a month, and I was just like feeding myself and paying for my rent based off the YouTube videos, that was like the coolest thing of all time for me. The fact that I can create what I want to create and then pay this. I didn't care about the rest. I had to go and talk to more business-minded people, and they were showing me how much they were making with less subscribers, and I had to retrain my mind to be like, okay, money can get you to.
I saw, I think I sent this to you, like I saw on TikTok, it was like a clip from his Rumble where he was saying like, true red pill isn't just like arguing with feminists and women all day on social media. It's like going to the gym, trying to better yourself, focusing on these things, and that like really surprised me. And I wondered if that's like the bulk of his Rumble content, but then because he then sometimes does the inflammatory things, like all gets drowned out. Is that, like, have you seen his content?
Wait, say that one more time. What do you mean by that?
Like, it was him sitting on the floor telling his audience, like, the true red pill is, like, don't waste your time all day just, like, in comment wars.
Oh, yeah. This
so
sounds
that
like
felt consistent with what he was saying right here. like how it was politicized though, and he's like, don't waste your time talking about George Floyd, and we can like roll our eyes and be like, okay, you just hate leftists. But then that felt like he was actually holding his own audience accountable. He's like, okay, same thing, don't waste your time like arguing with feminists all day about like body count and all this bullshit, like red pill shit. It's like the real red pill is to like, I guess, transcend above the matrix, get better, like bettering yourself. But then when he does these more mainstream appearances, he only fixates on the leftist stuff, which makes me think he's just doing it again to get people in the door. It's like even Ben Shapiro says the way to, someone asked him like, how do I get more people to become conservative, and he said start with like visceral issues like gay and trans, because a lot of more centrist people who haven't made up their mind yet about where they fall politically will have a visceral reaction to those issues, and then from there you can kind of rope them into your politics. So that's why I'm like very confused by it, because I'm wondering, is he actually consistent? But then again, is this just like a marketing tool to be more anti-left and like anti-female rapper and stuff like that?
I mean, all of that anti stuff I think just plays into like the broadest sense of like the red pill ideology, basically. Like being anti, like I think he's never going to say anything that opposes like the general mainstream red pill ideology. So you have to be anti-female rapper because female rappers are what encourage women to have high body counts and to be girl bosses. Right?
No, I know. I guess I'm saying like, do you think the bulk, do you watch his Rumble content at all? Because I don't. I'm saying like from that one clip, I was wondering, is this the bulk of his Rumble content? Is actually telling his audience like, better yourself, focus on like not being spiritually bankrupt, don't just argue with women all day on social media comment sections, your life is slipping away. Like I wondered if that's like the bulk of his,
I don't know, anytime I've watched him on Rumble, it's always just like going over crazy conspiracy theories.
Because that made me sound like he's not brain broken, I guess is my point.
Sure.
For that clip.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't know, that's all I've seen him on his Rumble stuff, but who knows. Literally, anytime I check out Sneako's stream, he's just saying W, X thing, L, Y thing, reading donuts that agree with him and saying, yeah, this guy gets it. And reading donuts that disagree with him and saying, this guy's a virgin, stuck in the matrix, ignore that. Okay, I don't know.
A different place that you hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
You recognize that, but I think it's because people don't really go into it with pure intentions, and it's hard to, because you'll get shot down so much. There's so much negative feedback, there's so many negative comments, there's so many people that will try to bring you down, that like to go into it with pure intentions is almost stupid, because why would you risk your reputation? Like you've seen people try to destroy my life, you've seen people try to ban me, they tried to get me, like they accuse me of all these things, destroy my reputation, lie about me. I'm getting the fake news is writing about me, saying all this. It's difficult to go into it like and just try to be honest and vulnerable and authentic, because they'll eat you alive. But I've developed a thick skin with that, doing it for a long time, so it doesn't really affect me anymore. But anybody else seeing that and the way that the people that hate on what I do talk about me, why would they go into it with pure intentions? That's a stupid thing. It's better to see it as a business and not as an extension of yourself, which is how I see it. It's better to see it as something that you just do separate, because then you put your entire reputation on the line.
Now I didn't ask you, what do you do for a living? So I can, are you allowed to say it out loud? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm a dental nurse and trained to be an esthetician.
Okay, cool. Oh, that's a great job. That's a great paycheck right there, girl. Good for you. Okay, that's
Very
interesting.
Yeah.
Are you doing it for the money?
Partly just for more freedom, so I can travel. I love, but it does feel good to be able to make a change in people's lives and make them feel more confident in their own skin. So
that's cool.
Yes,
okay,
that's the most rewarding thing.
Yeah, it's funny when you're in.
It's funny because she's like a 22-year-old random girl or whatever, but I think that was a better answer for like life fulfillment than anything SNEAKO said so far, right? Like I enjoy my job because I can help people feel better about themselves. It's like essentially like spiritual community fulfillment. I think it's kind of funny.
In the game of survival, you have to pick a job that pays you so you can feed your kids and support yourself. Like that's like you have to do that. So then the question is, you said it earlier about, you don't work a day in your life, picking something you're passionate about, but not everybody gets that luxury. We're pretty special. At least, being a YouTuber in general, content creator, I feel like I really worked hard to do this 2 to 3 jobs at a time until I could. And now I hope I always keep it going on forever. But then I have to be more business minded. To keep this going, I do have to think about business to some extent, because the way I talk pushes a lot of people away. And so I have to think to myself, okay, that's not the message I meant to send, but that's what they heard. So what do I do? Do I act differently? Do I just change my words? Like I have to ask myself those questions. Now, what do you guys do when you're having this moment where you have to decide which version of yourself do you show the public? I guess more in SNEAKO's case here. So what is that like? what is that conversation you're having with yourself? Because for me, it's always back and forth. Do I talk differently? Maybe I can say it this way. I'm thinking about not cussing in my videos so I can get that bag from AdSense. I'm like, should I do this? Like, I do cuss. Should I pretend I don't cuss? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One thing that people struggle with a lot that is kind of coming out here is a lot of people don't, when people say stay true to yourself or don't compromise your values, I feel like people get fixated sometimes on dumb things. So like, for instance, I think there are some fundamental principles you can have. So for instance, maybe a principle might be like, I don't want to promote gambling. Or there could be, or actually, we'll just use the same thing. We'll say a principle for swearing. I don't want to swear because I think that swearing is immoral. I think we should speak with better words, right? Use a higher vocabulary. So then if you get online and you want to make videos and you could get paid more for swearing, but you're like, I'm not going to because it's a principal position, that's like not compromising yourself. That's good. But sometimes people view like just changing up the way that you act a little bit to be in a more appropriate environment is like compromising yourself. Like, so like, for instance, let's say it was that like swearing on Twitter, swearing on YouTube like hurts your AdSense or whatever. It's not like you have a principled position where you're like, you must swear all the time. Yeah. Like, you know, it's like I kind of wonder how these people act when they meet different people. Like if I'm meeting like a business partner or like somebody in a more formal setting, depending on what it is, like I'm probably going to change the way that I speak. I'm not going to be like, yo, what up, dude? Like, do you want to talk about child rape analogies or something, right? I'm not going to do that. But it's not because I'm not being true to myself, right? You just understand that in different settings there are different things that are appropriate. You're not doing things that like violate your principles. I feel like people have a lot of problems understanding that sometimes.
But your goal with talking to a business associate isn't to like express yourself truly. It's like you're trying to connect with someone and meet them halfway. If like his career is to express, like distill his values into a YouTube video, that's kind of different.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, sure.
That's supposed to be like his truest, like least filtered version of himself. You know
sure.
what I mean?
But I
He's
mean,
not
like you
trying
can
to
still
worry about
argue that there are
whiteness.
like, it's like some things are appropriate, or like we've talked about this, right? Like there are a lot of forms of edgy humor that I would engage in offline that I wouldn't engage with on stream because I don't think it's an appropriate environment. I don't know who's listening, that type of thing. But but that doesn't mean I'm not being true to myself by not being as edgy online as I would be in real life, right? It just means I recognize there's like a time and a place for different types of humor, I think.
I guess it's different if that's coming from an internal place where you're like, oh, I don't want to offend people because it'll adulterate my message, versus if he feels like he's, you know what I mean,
compromising his
externally being
message by not
sanctioned.
being as hardcore as possible at all points of his life. Maybe, I don't know.
It's hard to be authentic in that way. Rumble gives you a lot of freedom where I can, when I'm live streaming on Rumble, I don't care. Like, when I'm just talking to my chat. When it's just me in the chat, then I could be myself. And that's actually, I find myself even be more authentic than in most conversations because it's free flowing, it's entertainment. People are just there to hear me talk. So it doesn't feel like back and forth. Or it doesn't feel disingenuous whatsoever. It's actually so freeing to be on Rumble compared to YouTube, because YouTube, like, I had to say, like, when I talked about the shot, I would be like V word, or I couldn't curse. And so I would come up with all this language.
What?
The beer bug.
Yeah, they always have different words. Like they'll say like, instead of COVID, they'll say like the cough, or like the Fauci ouchie, or the poke. Did you get or whatever? They've always got like weird, like synonyms for everything. Yeah.
Go, and I still say it instead of like, I'll say corn, but people know what I'm talking about when I talk about corn, or grape, like if you have to talk about. But I do notice recently I've done podcasts and I've done debates where I've been scrutinized so much, and there's so many people even watching this right now. You have to be aware that there's probably 20 or 30 reaction channels watching this conversation, ready to find a sentence where I slip up so that they can make an entire video. SNEAKO's vibe. Blah, 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 blah.
Did you hear that vibe? He wanted to say vibrating misogynist again. Somebody really shattered him with that fucking sentence. Yeah.
I hate you.
Yeah.
That's what's happening, like literally right now. Like even as I say this word, say this sentence. And I did a podcast with Pearl yesterday, and I was talking about something about how like Japan is successful because they're a homogenous society, and I was just I was thinking while I was saying it, people are going to try and say I'm a white supremacist. Like while I'm just expressing an idea that I had while in Japan, people are going to try to find
that. By the way, that's not an idea that he had in Japan. That's probably an idea lifted 1-to-1 from fucking Ryan Dawson, who he's hanging out with, by the way. But
is this like an interview? I don't know what this girl's content. She's not giving him any pushback. Is that like normal for her style of content?
I think right here she just wants to have a conversation to find out where SNEAKO's at in life. Basically, is kind of what the goal of this is, I think.
Find a way to call me racist.
Right.
Or I was in a debate with Aiden Ross, and I was talking about World War II, and I was very aware, like, this is gonna be a clip on Twitter. Like, I know as soon as this is gonna go, and it was rightfully so. But then you just have to be aware of that now. And I just see it as part of the game. I don't let it, like, I'm okay being scrutinized. It's some people say, like, I've seen some people say, like, SNEAKO has a humiliation fetish, and that's absolutely not the case. That's absolutely not the case. But I just don't really care about the scrutiny on social media because
I have a question. So that like Moist Critical video that went viral about him, I didn't really understand why that video was praised so much. Like, I feel like you only talked about the cuck thing and then the cuties thing. Aren't those all like such old stories? Like, why did people act like he said something really revolutionary? Like, people acted like it was an expose, but both those things are like the biggest things SNEAKO's always flamed for, right?
Who, for Moist? You mean the video that Moist Critical did on him?
Yeah, the first one.
I think
the recent viral one, whatever.
It's probably because there's a lot of people that might not necessarily know those things about SNEAKO somehow still. And then Moist Critical's a really big figure, so he was just giving a lot of like attention to those things. And then Moist Critical and SNEAKO have been feuding quite a bit because SNEAKO was like attacking his like girlfriend and shit a lot.
Yeah.
So obviously people were looking to like a response.
I just saw there was so much hype around. I really thought he was going to say something new, but it was just the same.
No, the hype was just like him shitting on whatever, right? Like if PewDiePie made a video shitting on SNEAKO for the same shit, there'd be a lot of hype around it because it's PewDiePie making a video on SNEAKO, even if it was all the same shit.
Oh, I wasn't familiar with Moist. He's like that level kind of.
He's like, I think, he's a massively popular channel.
So you're saying he like mainstreamed the 2 points that.
Yeah, basically, it was a huge deal, right? So he's got 13 million subscribers. This video has,
I just thought like people already consider SNEAKO a joke in the mainstream because of those 2 points, like the cuties thing and the cuck thing.
Those things, it's still, SNEAKO's not like ultra mainstream. Like some people know about him, but to have a channel like this, like doing views on you, this guy's pulling like, Jesus, fuck.
It just felt like so outdated.
Oh, Nana, it's the same shit. Yeah. Like, so if Moist Critical were to make a video on me talking about like the DDoS kid or whatever, it would be a big deal, even though it's like 12-year-old shit. You know, that's just how the internet works. Yeah.
Well, but you're not tied to that. Like, I didn't know about that with SNEAKO. The first thing I learned about him after I met him was the like cuck thing.
Yeah, but that's because you're probably more in like these red pill spaces and communities, right?
No, like I didn't know who he was prior to the stream with him that I did, and then afterwards.
Yeah, but weren't you just on like Fresh and Fit?
Yeah,
that's what I mean. You're like in these communities. If you would have been like a random like politics podcast or a random like creator podcast, you might not have any idea about that, I think, right? Moist Critical was bringing that stuff to a whole new audience that might not have.
I guess I just feel like if you were to click his Twitter or like people commenting on his Instagram posts, like trying to shit on him, like it's always people bringing up the cuck thing. Like I just feel
for
like
the people that are
that's
shitting on him.
name.
But again, a lot of people just didn't know about that. For people shitting on him, but not everybody knew about him. Moist Critical probably brought that up to a whole new audience, I think.
But if people aren't familiar with who he is, if he's not mainstream, then I don't understand like how that expose did so well. Because why are people going to like dogpile on someone they don't know? I don't get it. Because
you're a streamer who cares about it, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like I could dig into a small community and find somebody to start drama, and my audience will care because now they have drama with me.
Okay,
right?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Ever manifest in real life. I've never seen it. I just get positivity, like the people at the front desk of this hotel, they shake my hand, they like ask if I need anything extra.
Yeah.
People always take pictures, and well, you have to be realistic. The same people who talk about me online, they probably see me in public and take a picture with me. So I see it as entertainment. I see it like people like to engage in drama content. People like to scrutinize. People like to like they like doing it. So fine, like I'll be I don't care. Like that will help me get my message out there more. And in a way, it's really been canceled and everything, but people can't stop talking about me. I feel like I hacked the system in a lot of ways where I'm banned off of most of the platforms, and my name is I was trending on Twitter worldwide for like weeks straight. Just people.
I saw you.
YouTube, just like every day, there's like I just searched my name yesterday, and just all these videos like, what's the reason that the SNEAKO, like what happened to him? Like people like men in their 30s and 40s are like SNEAKO, they can't stop talking about me. And I see it as the way. This is how Trump won the election. This in 2016 was the mainstream media. All they did was just poop all over him. Russian collusion. He's a misogynist. Grab him by this. They would not stop talking about him. They tried so hard to ruin his reputation. What happened? He won the election. So even though they're against him, you're going to reach the people. So being polarizing is a really effective method at beating the censor machine, at beating the propaganda machine. Because if real recognize real, the people that really understand, they're not going to believe the lies that they see on CNN. They're not going to believe the lies from the fake news. I get called racist. People call me like literally,
which is so weird. Yeah,
they'll write articles saying SNEAKO is a white supremacist ally. SNEAKO is a racist, and of course, like some people close to me are like, but not because they actually think I'm racist, because they're afraid of what other people are going to say.
For sure.
But they don't exist.
So, like, do you understand why this framing is so stupid?
No.
Like, why do you think people call him racist? I don't know how much you know about his shit.
I don't know much.
It's because he was, like, on shows and everything with Nick Fuentes, and he's saying things on Twitter. He's typing, like, W Hitler and stuff on Twitter. I think SNEAKO tweeted that.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, but the way that it sounds like when he's summarizing it, it sounds like he's saying, like, oh, people call me racist for no reason because it's the woke mob. But that's not why. Yeah. It's because he was tweeting and saying some fucking insane shit.
I don't know if this is accurate to his timeline, but I feel like sometimes I've noticed with these like alt-right people is like, it's kind of like that Elon Musk like drawing he drew where it's like 10 years ago he'd be considered moderate, but because the things have shifted, now he's considered whatever. So maybe SNEAKO was saying something that just wasn't like ultra woke, and then people were calling him racist, and then maybe he now like shifted down the pipeline, and now he's at the point where he's saying like W Hitler, which isn't justified, but I'm wondering if like people were calling him, if he's more so referring to people calling him racist before. You know what I'm saying?
I know
like,
what you're saying, but that's not the case. Unless I missed it, nobody was calling him racist before the like W Hitler shit.
Yeah, so what was he deplatformed for again? Like off these platforms? Off all of them?
Because he made some fucking wild fuck video where there was some YouTube feminist that had made a video about how he was misogynistic, and he made some video where he's basically like, he's talking about this woman, and he's like, I think somebody just needs to take her, and you just need to just give her a little bit like that, you just need to fuck her. Like, it was like, bro, what are you doing? It was that type of video. It was like, holy shit. And after that video came out, a bunch of YouTubers started to make videos saying like, SNEAKO needs to be banned from the internet, this is horrible behavior, blah, 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 blah. And then after that happened, I think he got technically banned for, it was election misinformation or vaccine misinformation or something. But I think that video kind of put him on a lot of people's radars. And then a lot of people like started making videos like trying to get him banned and shit. Yeah. But yeah. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
These people, it's all it is the way I see it is just pure entertainment. I know that I have good intentions, and so do you, and that's why I thank you for doing the podcast. I think people can see that. So I understand how media is. They like to poop on people. Let them. As long as you are confident in yourself and you're living a good life. We're in London, and life's great. So like,
like people feed off negativity. It sells. I think if someone's more positive, they don't even get the same amount of. Not as many people are going to be talking about them.
True.
Essentially, so people say the outlandish things because they know that it's going to get people's attention. The same with the media. Media use scare tactics, and they put stuff out on the internet to scare people, and they have half the population of the world living in fear of news that probably isn't even true.
Yeah, I think there is a big problem with misinformation and a big problem with just selling a product. So the problem is like we're all hearing different news. We all have different sources, and who are these sources and where are they getting their information from? It's hard to even know, which is why my work is predicated on more what we believe versus what we know, because I don't think we know as much as we think. I think we just have different information. So what's the downside to being yourself, but also being the person that people hate? So there's an upside. You get, everyone talks about you, you go viral, you become rich. What's the downside?
The downside is, I mean, I would say the number one downside is like stressing out the people closest to me. Yeah. Like they'll, I don't want to say too much because it's gonna, but like they'll see the conversation that you've had, or like the debates, and like they're like, and they start reading the comments, and they get, it's just stress. It's just stressful for them. I'm used to it, but it's just like the people that care about you, they get worried. So that's been the number one detractor. Other than that, that's no big deal. You'll get slandered a little bit. People will lie about you, and people will see you as a brand risk. Like there's some business opportunities that I've missed out on, definitely because people think like don't associate with him, and it's not because they actually think I'm a racist. It's because there's articles calling me racist, and they don't want their brand they don't want to associate with that. So I get it. It's like being a brand risk will close a lot of doors, but at the same time, it's freeing because once those doors are closed, then you're not held back the same way that you feel like you're held back on YouTube by certain words. Like if I'm never going to get a brand deal with this water bottle or this water company, then I don't need to go and change my language or pretend like I don't think certain things. I can just be as honest as possible. Ye said that to me, like after he never was more free. Like once his bank account got frozen, he's like, I'm a free man now.
But now Ye is like walked back almost everything, and he's like, I watched 21 Jump Street. I love the Jews now, and he's like basically completely withdrawn from from public life. But yeah,
else they have nothing else to take away from me. They took my family, they took my bank account, they took everything there. So I'm a free man.
Yeah.
You know, there's nobody, there's nothing holding me back from being authentically myself.
Do you know the philosopher Diogenes?
No.
He was during Alexander the. Go ahead. You've heard of him?
Yeah, I don't know too much about him though, but
there's this funny story about Diogenes during Alexander the Great's like moment in time. Diogenes was this philosopher. He had given up all his material possessions, and this is an alleged story, of course, right? Like this is what we've been told throughout history. But he's laying on the grass. He's given up everything, guys, just everything. He has one single bowl. But then he sees a child using the cupping of his hands to feed himself, and he's like, well, why do I even have this bowl? So he gets rid of the bowl. And as he's laying on the grass and the sun is shining in front of him, Alexander the Great comes to him and says, what can I do for you? Tell me, I'm a war hero. I have everything. What can I give you? And Diogenes says, move. You're blocking the sun. There's nothing you need except your joy, your happiness, your fulfillment and meaning and purpose in life. And that's not going to look the same for all of us, right? So for Diogenes, it was to know that he's the freest he is when he has nothing holding him down. For the rest of us, we need to eat and have shelter and go to London. So we do need some money. So realistically, when you're sending out this message that people are hearing and they look at you and think, I'm never going to be SNEAKO though. I'm not going to risk my family being, anxiety filled. I'm not going to risk my reputation. I'm not going to risk this and that. What message would you send to them if they're not willing to take those big risks? What risks could they take? What message could you send to them to give them hope that they could find their own path without becoming one of the most talked about negatively people on the internet?
The reality is most people are not really even in a world where they feel like they need to go and challenge the status quo like that or engage in those conversations. I think that's a very specific type of person that wants to put themselves out there like that. So people can find themselves in different ways. We're similar in that this is the way that we find ourselves, like being able to have open dialogue and talk online. But most people, they'll find it in their own personal lives. So for those people, it's like, I don't really think that that's a challenge for them to go and risk that. People, ignorance is bliss is true. People like to, a lot of people like to live in the comfortable lives that they're fed. They don't want to challenge their worldview. They don't want to think that they've been fed a lot of lies. They don't like to think that the government doesn't actually care about them or the powers that be have a different agenda. And that's okay. If they will live, a lot of times they'll even be aware of that, but they'll push it out of their heads just so that they can just like.
That a lot of people don't want to be.
Like he's saying people are like blissfully ignorant and that's why they're not challenging the status quo or whatever.
I mean, like to some extent, like nobody really has the time to like critique all of society at all points in time.
He's not saying time. He's saying that it's a scary thought kind of, and it's more comfortable to just accept it. Right.
Yeah, but I mean, like the type of thing that he's talking about, like it's a little bit of it is a function of comfort, but a lot of it is just a matter of like not everybody has the time to sit down and like think through like every crazy aspect of the world. I don't know if it's so much like that people are necessarily just like scared, but that it's a lot of deliberate work to come out and think really hard about like the nature of the world and everything, like where misinformation and why the media does or whatever. It's a lot of time. Most people are just like trying to work their job, do their shit, like party on Fridays and like that's it. Like that's what most people want to do.
But isn't his logic is it's like an investment into more time in the future? Because if you question yourself of like, okay, why am I working this dead-end job if my goals are maybe, okay, I would just want to get this house to impress someone else, or I want to get this car to impress someone else, and then you change your values, then maybe you readjust accordingly and then you get more time. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's true. Like there is like more, I think there's more reward there if you're willing to do it. It's just something that I don't think most people are like really
you make it sound like it'd be a waste of time, and I guess
no, it absolutely wouldn't be a waste of time.
He'd see it as like an investment.
Yeah, I would see it as an investment. It's
you
definitely
think it's
not
an
a waste
investment?
of time.
Like you think the average person who's like a cashier, if they just sat down and thought about why am I doing the things I'm doing, it'd be a good use of their time and they'd get more rewards from that.
If they truly approached it that way, yeah. It's just difficult because a lot of people just don't think of life that way. or haven't had like any even practice doing it, right? You just kind of like inherit things from people around you, and you just go through life like that.
But you think their life would actually materially change, like a cashier who just sits and thinks about like the things they've never thought about? You think that would actually help them?
I think if you can find like more purpose in life, I think that would help you in a lot of different ways. Yeah, for sure. Because like even when I was working like really dog shit fucking jobs, like things like music made me like really happy. That was something that was super fun for me. And even in points in my life where I was like very financially fucked, like I was never at a point where it's like, God, I feel like worthless and purposeless and blah blah blah. Like there were still things that made me happy. Like finances sucked and maybe I was gonna lose my house or whatever, but like there's still like I still have fun on a day-to-day basis and still be happy. Yeah,
I guess to him that wouldn't fulfill it, because he's not advocating like, okay, suck it up, do the job, and then afterwards do the hobby that fulfills you, like the music. He's saying that like you need to make it so that it all overlaps, like the Akagi thing, right?
Yeah, kind of. Or just all of his career advice is always just on like some weird online celebrity shit. Yeah, I don't know. What's up, buddy?
You done watching Brittany suck off SNEAKO?
I'm watching this in a very neutral manner. Okay, so I don't know what you mean by that. This has been an exemplary interview so far.
I just didn't realize that fellatio was allowed on Rumble.
Okay, these are Abba's words, not mine, to be clear.
Fine, I would say it to Brittany's face too, so I really don't care. I think she fellatioed him after that whole incident, and now she's engaging in Muslim jizya right in front of her eyes.
Okay, well.
But anyways,
yeah,
that's not why I'm here. I want to ask you a question. Separate question. Do you think that in defense of property, it's acceptable to potentially kill someone? And if so, can you qualify what those circumstances are?
I think the ones that we roughly settled on was that, like, if you're in a society where you roughly understand that people, like, you have to understand that people own the property, you probably have to have some understanding that lethal force is possible, that somebody's going to defend their property, and then you probably have to be, like, to some extent, an agent that understands their decisions. That if these qualifications are met, then somebody probably has the right to defend their property, escalating up to and including like death. Yeah.
Gotcha. So when you say property, like what would be property that you wouldn't think is acceptable to want to defend?
Whatever you fucking own. But we'll say like house and car for now.
Okay. So like more higher in terms of like monetary value, not necessarily. Like if it's a ring, for example, or something like that.
There, like I could see an argument being made for that, but we'll stick to those ones for now because the edge case is going to be hard. Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. I want to ask you. There's we covered this recently, but there's like a group of pranksters who run around trying to grab people's groceries.
Shit. Yeah,
to grab people's groceries and run off with them or whatever, and then they always end up getting in fights. And then there's one person who recently went to an airport and tried to steal people's luggage and be like, "That's my luggage," and like start a whole altercation. And then one person ended up getting arrested because of the whole altercation. Do you feel like there's anything inherently wrong about some of the behavior that they're doing with these pranks potentially? Without seeing it, obviously, I know you haven't seen it, so you'd have to get more context.
I would have to see it, but like, I mean, if you want to do a prank like that, I think like, knock yourself out, but you better be wearing Kevlar. Like if somebody like took action against somebody doing shit like that, I wouldn't sit there and I'd be like, yeah, that's about what you'd expect to happen. Yeah.
So I think I think Jadion took exception with some of my words because I was like, man, fuck these kids. I don't care if they get shot, which is it's pretty aggressive. I ain't even gonna lie, but I keep thinking to myself, like, you're grabbing people's stuff, especially like the luggage one is wild because airports spending
you're
a lot
already
of
like super high stress. You're already worried about like, airport is probably the worst place to fuck with somebody ever. Like you're better off doing it in the fucking ER. Okay, the airport is the worst place to catch somebody and fuck with somebody. Yeah.
Bro, I be getting anxiety every time. Like I got to go pick up my luggage from like the ramp thing, and it's taking forever. Thinking about somebody taking my shit and trying to run off with it, I would lose my mind. So I just see these kinds of pranks, and like I don't know. I basically just said, listen, I think some of these guys got to die so that people stop doing this kind of dumb shit.
Jesus Christ.
I'm dead ass. I don't even think that. I don't know if it's that extreme, but I'm seeing a YouTube trend of like really fragrant and like crazy stuff. There's one guy who recently got arrested on like terroristic threats because they were fucking with this grocery store guy.
Jesus.
And they were taking his hat and like taunting him and shit. And then the police ended up charging them. I don't know. I'm just seeing a trend of like YouTube pranksters who are obviously doing stuff that's clearly illegal. And there's a part of me that's like, I don't know if the rhetoric I'm engaging in is good, but I feel like it's amazing.
I mean, people get like really mad because they always look at like people always look at the they'll look at the extreme side of the self-defense. They're gonna be like, oh, so people are gonna be killing each other over like trying to break into somebody's car or walking in their yard or some shit, right? Like people will say stuff like that, and it's like, okay, that is the extreme side of my argument, sure. But then the extreme side of your argument is everybody's just running around stealing shit for fun and like funny because they know that there's not gonna be any serious repercussions. Like I'd rather the one where people are getting executed for trespassing somebody's yard than the world where everybody's just infinitely stealing from everybody else because they know there's no real repercussion for it.
Whoa, you see trespassing in someone's yard, like executed?
Well, that's like the most extreme version of like the self-defense argument, right? Well, what if they're breaking into their house? Okay, well, what about they're not breaking their house? What if they're climbing your fence or whatever? That'll be where they'll go. Like, okay, well, what about, like, I think for Pisco, his argument is, what if somebody tries to steal a blade of grass from you? Would you defend that? And like, principally, you're kind of sort of say like, yeah, I guess you could defend that. But then on their end, like their extremist side is like people should be able to just infinitely run around and steal from everybody else, knowing as long as you're fast enough and you can run, there's no repercussion ever. You should be able to steal whatever you want because nobody should ever be able to use lethal force against you, which I think is wrong. But
yeah. I mean, I can understand the concern with like some extreme forms of this because, you know, we recently saw a whole bunch of state cases of mistaken identity shootings over the past weekend.
For sure.
Like the kid who rang the doorbell of the wrong house, apparently, and then he got blasted through the door. Like, that seems kind of crazy to me.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. What about there's someone beside you? How does she feel about killing people? You're into that stuff?
I'm so sorry. Summarize what he said. I was trying to understand this game.
Why are you reading my game? He's talking about like, do you think that if somebody's like trying to, let's say that you're in LAX, somebody runs up to you to steal your purse, and you're like, don't do it, and they run after you to take your purse. Let's say you have a gun on you. Do you think you should be able to kill that person to keep them from taking your purse?
No.
So they should just get to take it?
I think self-defense only applies if they're enacting like physical harm on you, right?
Okay. Don't say right. That's your opinion, not mine, okay?
Yeah.
Cringe.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that was all for me. I just wanted to ask about that. But you guys can go back to watching Felicia.
Abba's words, not mine, okay?
All right. Peace.
Bye.
Like, listen, you go to their yoga class and go home. Go like it's just too much, and I get it. So, but I don't think that's a problem for most people.
Well, hold on. Since you work a normal people job, girlfriend, you got to tell us. What is it like being a normal person with a normal job, normal goals, but yet here you are with SNEAKO. Here you are on my podcast. So tell us.
Normal.
I don't know. It's very different, I would say. Yeah, I do see a lot of people every day, just average, normal, everyday people, and people that work normal jobs, and they just believe everything that's given to them, and they just take it for what it is, and they just get on with it. I mean, some people are comfortable like that. I mean, ignorance is bliss, I guess.
It is. It totally is. Now, okay, so this is what my work is about. But here's where I feel like I've come through with radical acceptance, that I don't think my job in life is to change people. It's to give people the option to change. Like I'm saying, live your life, go to your 9 to 5, come home. That's great. That's beautiful. Have a family, do your thing. But if you find yourself asking, why aren't I joyful? Why aren't I happy? Why can't I feel that satisfaction, that meaning in life? Maybe I could find the answer, I don't know, on YouTube. Maybe I could find it in a book. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to send a little beacon to people that are trying to do something a little more unorthodox. My life is not normal, but I feel normal every day. And that's something that I struggle with. So what like, do you have a relationship with that? Because you must feel normal, right? You must feel like a normal person.
Yeah, I am a normal person. And I think it's just that's how I'm able to separate the negativity online or trending or like people nonstop talking about me. Is like I said, it only exists on the computer and on my phone.
Yeah.
I've never seen it, not once. And you would think trending worldwide after being canceled for weeks straight on Twitter, being like one of them, you would think that there'd be something happening, but it does not exist. And that's been the best way for me to not care about it. It's just like I just see it purely as entertainment. People like to engage in a certain way.
Isn't it interesting though? Because like, okay, this is a thought I have, and it sounds like it's a contradiction. I have a thought where I'm like, my audience got not my audience, an audience of somebody else got really upset with me, and they were like, did you hear what Brittany just said? She just said in her real life. She just insinuated YouTube's not her real life. And I was like, it's not. It's my job, and it's a thing I do on the internet. But then when I shut it off and I hang out with my family and with my fiance, that's my real life.
Exactly.
Like, that's my life. So I'm realizing that I'm not
We
even
are
as...
normal.
We
We're
are
normal.
normal. That's what I'm saying. But why? Okay, I'm online, but I'm not chronically online. You know that term, like you're chronically online? I'm my real life is my family. I have real problems. We have real solutions. We have real things that we're doing. And online is this cool job that I get to have. But I didn't realize that people didn't know that about me because I've been on the internet for so long. They thought Brittany was also one of us. And I was like, no. To be clear, I live offline. My real life is off the computer. But at the same time, here's the contradiction. This is a part of me, and it's authentic, and it's real, and it's meaningful to me. So it is a part of me, but yet it's not the whole real me. It's like a part of Brittany.
Or do you feel like this is all of you?
No, I'm pretty much always online. Yeah, this is my life. I am chronically online. What about for you? I feel like you probably have a decent amount of separation, no?
Yeah, I post like once every 3 months. It'd be kind of sad.
Yeah, you're
that
barely
was my
online.
life, yeah.
Your life is sad because you're not online enough, okay?
Yeah.
Needs to be on. I need to make videos. I don't know what's wrong with me. I need to do it, right? So what would you do? You have that relationship with yourself where you're offline and that's your real life, but then your videos are so real. They mean so much to people. They're so beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's you got to see it like as an art form or as creation, and also in a sense like as a job. Like your job, I'm sure you think about it. Your job is there's your work, like there's your work persona, but when you come back home, you hang up your tie, you put your shoes in the closet, and then there's that life. So one funny thing is a lot of people that I debate with like furiously and that you've had disagreements with, I'll hang out with them in real life.
Yeah.
We'll get food.
Who do you think they're referring to?
Well, we'll talk. We'll like go and rock climbing, stuff like that.
You guys
and
go
then
rock
like it's back
climbing?
We did go rock climb once, yeah.
Oh, actually?
Yeah, fun time.
Who
here,
won?
and then we're yeah,
Literally.
like yelling at each other.
Wait, what?
Like, who did better?
Probably him.
What do you mean probably him?
Well, he climbed higher than me.
Like quicker or also higher?
Just higher? I only did one of the walls. He did a taller wall.
Do you have acrophobia?
No?
Why didn't you do the taller one too?
I don't know. I just didn't.
Okay.
Have you ever been rock climbing before?
No, I actually have an excruciating fear of heights. I can't.
Really? How did you spend 12 hours on a balcony if you have a fear of heights? Was it really scary
Holding on
being out
to
there?
the idea that you were going to invite me in.
Yeah.
That thought kept
When the
me
wind
warm and
blows, do you
safe.
get like really nervous out there that it's going to like blow you off the balcony?
Sure.
Okay. Ready?
And then people like are so confused and like, oh, I like that you guys could, because I know how to separate it. It doesn't have to be your whole thing. Like I'm sure we would get along, and I'm sure we'd have like if we met in real life, we'd have a completely different conversation than what we're having right now.
For sure.
It doesn't have to be your entire existence, and if if that's where you derive all of the meaning from your work, then you're gonna have an empty existence.
It's so weird how many like. One thing I don't like about people that haven't spent a lot of time thinking about like first principles, like where their lives come from, is there's so many things that if you take so many statements, they're just all so contradictory. Like earlier in here, I felt like I was getting the impression that like if you could find something that you truly love, that's like your work and your life and all this together, that's like the best job in the world. But now they're saying that like, oh well, if your job is your life, you're a fucking loser. Well, like which one is it?
Well, they're saying if the job isn't congruent with those goals and that being your life, then you're a loser.
I guess, but like now it sounds like they're saying like, oh, like it's important to like hang your hat up and be done with your job at the end of the day. But I felt like it earlier in this conversation, if you would have asked, do you think it would be really cool if you could find a job that you could like live and do it like everyone in your life and you love it and it's fulfilling all that? They'd probably like, yeah, that'd be awesome. So it just feels like there's like a lot of these things are just kind of like empty platitudes that I hear people say a lot, like, oh, don't take your work home with you, like that. It's true, but it's like a platitude, right? You kind of have to think about it, otherwise you're just like saying things. Or like do what you love and you won't work a day in your life. Okay, well then shouldn't you do that always? Like a lot of these platitudes are contradictory if you've never thought about it before.
I guess he's not talking about the work itself, but like he was saying, for instance, like he doesn't try to bring the hate from work home, so he's not bringing home like the feedback or the customers necessarily. He's still like living by the values of his work, even when he hangs his hat up, just not like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, if you're being really, really, really charitable, maybe you get there, but I don't have that charity right now, so. But.
So this is why I'm putting a strong effort in traveling the world and meeting different people and training every day and just having a life that is really separate from this, because I see the effect that it has when everybody that constantly talks about me or tries to bring me down or accuses me of all this stuff, they're just in their room. Like they are the chronically online people, and I think that that's a really important point for the people watching to see. It's like, how much of that do they actually hate me, or how much of that is because they exist chronically online and they attach so much of their self-worth from that? Everybody who hates me so much, that they have a lot of things in common, where they're a talking head in the same room all day, A lot of them are much older than me, and they just sit there, and you never see them anywhere else. I think it's important, and I think it's effective too, that, I mean, we're in London. I met Danya yesterday. I like to meet new people. I'm about to go to Bucharest and meet a lot of people.
Do you think it's like a
Romania
cope
this weekend.
to write off hate? It's just like, my haters just live in their parents' basement? Or do you think it's valid to not like take that stuff seriously?
I think it depends on the type of hate. What he's saying is true to some extent. Like if you go to like kiwi farms, those are not healthy people. Nobody comes home from like a normal job where they have like friends and family.
Kiwi farms?
It's a site that's dedicated to archiving everything about a person's existence and incessantly posting about them and obsessing over every single little thing, right? Like people that go home and do shit like that are probably not well-adjusted people. They're probably people that are like obsessed. But if you're like a random person that's like dropping like a hater comment on like YouTube, you could be happy, you could be not, doesn't matter, right? It just depends on what kind of person we're talking about, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And gonna go to South America, and just continue seeing the world. And I'll continue making my content, but it's important for people to. I think it's important for the next generation of young men to understand that if you make money online and if you have a business online, you don't need to just game and watch porn and like have just YouTube be your whole, or like TikTok. That doesn't have to be your life.
Right.
It's an extension. Like that's a form of communication. But it doesn't have to be your whole. It could be a self-expression, but that doesn't have to be your whole existence. In fact, it shouldn't. It's better if you're not. It's better if you have experiences to tell, stories to tell, and things to share from your experiences around the world. And I think there's going to be a lot of people that are starting to wake up. And the reality is, it's harder to wake up women. Women are.
I was about to say that all sounds like good advice.
Almost.
I was really like, oh, I like that all.
Than men.
You think so?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is why
I think humans are programmable. I think it's just humans. Do you think it's gender?
They are, but men are more capable of waking up, are more susceptible to criticism. Like when women hear criticism, and we were just talking about this, like she has one of her best friends is stuck in her ways and she's around bad people, and Donnie will try to tell her, like, you need to get away from these people. Or like, come on, this is how women are. Like when women tell each other accomplishments, the first thing they do is compare. Like, what did you say? Like you told her about a job you got, and she's like, "Why you're throwing it in my face?"
Keep in mind that, again, this is where the platitudes come and the contradictions. Earlier, he said two things that are highly contradictory. The first thing women do is compare. One, he said that something that drove him to be a better person was looking at that guy that had the 7-figure income or the 8-figure or 9-figure income, right? The second thing he said that I thought was interesting is he almost said something that I thought was good. It was something like when he's looking for inspiration, I thought what he was going to say is usually what you say is like, you just, instead of comparing yourself to other people, you just compare yourself to where you were before, right? Always try to better yourself. The person you're competing against is who you were yesterday. But he didn't say that. He says he looks to everybody else and he tries to be as good or as better as them. He looks to other people for inspiration, kind of like that. So it feels like comparison is the basis for a lot of the stuff that he talks about. But now here it's like women are bad because they compare a lot.
But the comparison, I don't know, maybe I'm giving him way too much credibility because I don't know much about him. I feel like the way he's comparing it is by saying like he's comparing himself to the guy who makes the 9-figure income, but he's comparing to him not because the guy said I'm making 9 figures, but it's because he wants to make more than he previously was, right? So it's still. But
then you don't need the other person as a point of comparison, no? Can't you just say like, I was doing this last year, I want to be doing this year?
He's saying he's comparing himself to the guy who compares himself to himself, right? So isn't that still consistent?
No, I don't think so. But yeah,
because he's using that as the model to base off the fact that like,
I want to
better myself.
Sure, but I feel like at the end of the day, just on the overall vibes of what he says and like everything that's going on, it feels like everything is like pretty obsessive about like other people in the space, what other people are doing, like doing better than other people, out earning, out achieving other people. That's like the general gist I get of like from the totality of his content. But
oh really, that he compares himself to other people?
Yeah, for sure. That it's like constantly fighting with other. Although he said he was going to try to change that, so maybe this is SNEAKO on the new arc or whatever. So
yeah, am I simping? Everyone says I'm simping for him. I feel like I'm being very not simpy.
Well, you're being really charitable, and we've seen I think a lot more SNEAKO content than you have, so it comes off as that. But it's all good.
Why are you throwing?
Wow,
because
that's hard.
Men, in my experience, it's like you uplift each other. It's like, oh, good stuff. Like you're able to self-improve. Women are not good at as good at self-improvement as men. That's just a hard reality. Brittany, if you disagree with me, can you name one? Can you? You disagree? Besides yours, because I see an essence of it. But what's the most popular self-improvement podcast for women?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, since the majority of men are the ones on YouTube, I assume that wouldn't be as big of a market there, right?
I think when I think of a woman's podcast, I think Call Her Daddy.
Oh, I don't watch that. I've never even watched it.
That's the most popular one. That's the most popular female podcast.
Another thing that I really don't like, and I still stand by this, and I'm open to be corrected or whatever, is I don't think that there are self-improvement podcasts really for men. I don't consider red pill stuff to be self-improvement. Like, I would consider like people like Jeff Nippard or people like Athlete X even, people that give like actual workout advice. You can call this like self-improvement, but just telling somebody like you need to work out, you need to make more money, you need to up your game, that's not self-improvement. I think that's just like, it's like a form of like weird like self-idolization masturbation. Like, that's not like self-improvement. I don't consider that self-improvement.
I don't think like the fresh and fit stuff self-improvement. I would say like some Ben Shapiro content is like, especially more so now. Now I think he's actually getting into more conservative values, not just like the anti-woke stuff. And I would say like Jordan Peterson again, when he's not just fixating on like
sure, but those positivity. Aren't. I wouldn't consider either of those guys.
No, not that. I'm saying like I agree with what he's saying. Like I felt this way a lot. I think I was telling you this the other day that I get frustrated because I feel like there's not a lot of good female models for like things I want to do, and so that's why I get frustrated because I'll like hear someone kind of hint at something that I feel, but then it'll immediately be followed by like, but women are like subhuman, so they don't have these exact desires and frustrations, then I can get kind of frustrated. Sure. So I would agree with him. Like I wish, like sometimes even when I hear Jordan Peterson speak, like in long form, I'm like, oh, a lot of what he says is like actually really intelligent and compelling. Like and same with Ben Shapiro about like seeking something higher, but then it's again always followed by being like, but this is just for men. Women don't feel this way, and it is frustrating. Yeah. I don't know. You disagree?
That's so funny.
No, I think I largely agree, yeah. But again, I was focusing on like the red pill stuff. Not like, I think there are some conservatives that do like good self-improvement stuff. Like I think Ben Shapiro generally offers like good advice.
No, but his point was that there's no female equivalent. And I guess...
No, I understand. But it's weird to say like, oh, like men like this.
Your role model is Amaranth OnlyFans.
Yeah, it's weird to say that like men like this and this is important for men and women don't like this, and then you're part of the self-improvement movement, but your movement doesn't know self-improvement. That's a weird thing to be in, right? Like it's just a weird criticism. Like women don't like this. Well, none of the men you talk to seem to like it either, because none of them talk about self-improvement. They just talk about drop shipping and the Matrix. Like why would you be the one to point this out? It's true what he's saying, kind of, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't watch that one. I guess I do watch most podcasts hosted by men, but interviewing women. So I guess, I can't think of a woman's podcast other than comedians because I watch a lot of comedian podcasts. That's a good. Yeah, I watch The Diary of CEO, but that's a man, and I watch like a bunch of like Theories of Everything, but that's a man. But that makes sense, right? Because even Jordan Peterson talks about this, how majority of viewers on YouTube are men. Men are mostly chronically online. Like men are the ones suffering with addiction to screens. So my concern is that it's not even gender, it's culture. My concern, because I just said this on a live show the other day. One of the greatest things my parents ever gave us as children is not jealousy or envy. Like we do not want what other people have. We want what we can make for ourselves. My dad's an entrepreneur. My mom's like the stay-at-home mom who became part of the business as well. So for us, I guess because we were raised in like, it wasn't about gender, even though we're Middle Eastern from Iraq. It's not gender. It's good people are not jealous or envious. They make their own. You know what I'm saying? So maybe it's a disconnect of culture more than gender.
It could be, but my bigger point is that the people that I'm going to be able to reach and the people who's more affected, like men are more...
I don't know why she keeps... Do you hear her do that? It feels like every time he starts to say anything, she'll be like, like she's agreeing a lot, but he hasn't even said anything yet. I don't know why she does that. It drives me crazy. That's like a random... That's not like a real criticism. That's just a thing that she does. It drives me insane. Sorry. She does it here when he starts to answer this question.
Gender.
It could be, but my bigger point is that the people that I'm going to be able to reach and the people who's more affected, like men are more easy, they are more susceptible to change their minds. Like,
okay, yeah.
Women can be programmed by the people that are doing the program, the most influential people. And this is true. If you don't agree with the self-improvement thing, most influential people are men. And if a woman is not being influenced by her husband or by their father, someone is going to take that patriarchal role and end up influencing her. So even if she thinks she's an independent queen...
That's a cringe. You understand what he's referencing, right?
Referencing?
Or this is kind of like, it's the idea of like, women basically have two fathers in their lives. They have their father, who's their actual father, and then once they get married, their husband becomes their new father. So a woman is basically always taking direction by some man, is what he's referring to there.
She's probably influenced by the media. The media is
no, that's what I thought he was saying. He was basically saying like some institution's going to take that role and women aren't going to have like as much independent thought.
Yeah, basically, yeah. But the line they said before, hold on.
Husband or by
he
the
was
father,
saying, yeah.
someone is going to take that patriarchal role.
Like he said, husband or father,
But
patriarchal
he's like,
role.
even outside of those, someone's going to take the patriarchal role. He meant like a figure, like a media figure.
Yeah, but it's something that's built into women. Women need to take direction from somebody.
Yeah.
So it's either going to be father or husband, or if they're not giving good, that's why they need to be like leaders for their women or whatever, and that's why they need like trainable women.
But I don't think that's specific to. I don't think that statement in itself is that wrong. But I just don't think it's specific to women.
Well, yeah, I don't necessarily disagree,
Like,
but
I don't think
his
most
statement
people
is
are
all about
capable
women.
of independent thought. No, yeah, I know.
Yeah, sure.
And end up influencing her. So even if she thinks she's an independent queen, she's probably influenced by the media. The media is male dominated, or she's influenced by the government. The government's male dominated. The government's telling her when to stay inside, when to go to work, what she should do, or her boss at her job. And her boss, 90% of the time, is a man. So the man is always in that influential role, whether or not we like it. And this happens in families too. If you don't raise your kid properly, what happens is somebody in the school is going to end up raising your kid, or the friends around. It's usually a masculine figure.
Yeah.
My bigger point is that the people that I'm going to be able to reach, and this is just a hard truth, it's going to be young men. Those are the people who are going to be susceptible to understanding this, and that's why I think it's extremely important for me to travel and show a different lifestyle, because women are going to be like, they'll admire it, or they'll be like, they'll respect it, and they'll see what, but they're not going to go and emulate it. They're not going to go and emulate that. A young man will. So I think that's the most effective form if you want to make a change in the world. Getting the young men, the military age men, people a little bit younger than me, that's who's going to be able to make a change. Because if you can lead the household, and if strong men are the people that are going to mold society. I think that's why things are kind of becoming a lot of extremely nonsense, because there's a lack of strong men. There's a lack of men being able to take that lead.
Wait,
and
I
they
think
give up.
either I zoned out for a second or I'm misunderstanding. He's saying that like the reason men are the ones who can end up molding society is because they can actually take like virtuous instruction. But wasn't he just saying that like it's women who are the ones who just follow orders?
Yeah, I was going to say that too. There's kind of a contradiction here, because he's saying like women take orders and women are followers, and that's why I'm going to reach out to only men. But the men that he's reaching out to are taking orders and are followers of SNEAKO. It's a total contradiction, right? Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah,
it's sad too. I really feel like a lot of these people could reach a female audience.
Yeah, probably.
If they like dropped the red pill shit, stopped like the obsession with like female rappers and like the body positivity, like Swimsuit Illustrated magazines and stuff like that. Because like, yeah, I like agree that there aren't like good female role models for like, you know what I mean, being less spiritually bankrupt. I just feel like that doesn't exist.
Sure. Yeah.
They would rather change their gender, or say that gender roles don't exist, and be chronically online and not take the risk and not take the steps necessary in order to lead. But the more strong men you have, I think the better a world you have, because if you have a strong man, then you have a happy woman.
I think generally speaking, there is a lack of discipline in leadership. And I think because I work with such niche communities, gender like becomes a non-issue basically, because I work mostly with queer people. Like even in my relationship, I'm the breadwinner. Like I'm not concerned with gender roles in that regard. But I think that generally speaking about straight heterosexual couples, I think that there is that struggle dynamic, because the studies they do on women who are successful, who leave corporate to become mothers and who want strong dominant men, they're often straight women. So, your audience is so much wider than mine. It's such a different part of the population. I'm just talking to the few in between who are like sitting here not concerned so much with gender roles. But I wonder, do you think that those communities deserve a place of joy and happiness outside of that particular framework? Outside of the framework that works for straight couples?
Of course, I think everybody deserves happiness, and I want everybody to be happy. Yeah. I just see it as the most effective way, or the most effective use of my voice is like, and of course, I like to entertain, I like comedy, and that's fun. But when it comes to influencing and impact, it's reaching young men. Yeah. And I think that's the most impactful use, because if I create men that are happier, that are stronger, that have a better life, that are making more money and not programmed, if I impact them, then the rest of the world is also, and it's bigger than just straight relationships, because if you have strong men are just around you in the community, strong men create a better world. Weak men are the biggest problem. People call me misogynist all the time. I think that it's a weak, emotional man. It's somebody who's unstable, somebody who's not in control. That's the person who ends up lashing out and makes people scared. Like, the reason that a lot of women have their guard up is because they've been around a creepy guy who was too, or like a stalker. Like, women, these bad experiences from weak men traumatize women, and that's why I think that's the most important thing to use your voice for.
You know, okay, wait, I really vibe with this idea because I think that there's always there's like, okay, tell me if you agree with this. That it's not that men need to be emotional, because being emotionally irregular is not good. It's that men need to have a relationship with their emotions so they don't lose that discipline. Is that sort of the narrative? Oh, I'm sorry, girl. Say it again. Your audio cut out.
Emotional intelligence.
Exactly.
Emotionally intelligent, and there's not many emotionally intelligent men anymore.
Yeah.
I wonder if SNEAKO push back on this, because this is usually like a feminist talking point, and I feel like when I bring this up, I feel like red pillars get really triggered, because emotional intelligence and all that shit. Basically, the only emotional intelligence they want from men is like, have you ever heard of the term like stoicism? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they just want them to be like quiet warriors that suffer and do what men need to do or whatever. But
yeah,
not that I've come across anyway.
Or women. I think everyone's struggling right now. I think everyone's kind of in a we're not doing too good out here. So that's why I think your voice is important for that motivation. And
I think
what
the
I'm
reason
trying to do.
that I keep probably giving SNEAKO the benefit of the doubt is because even though the shit he's saying is so like basic and like lightly misogynistic of like the rappers and whatever, and like, oh, women don't whatever, it's because I think he's like ignorant. But I think at the end of the day, it does sound like he does want people to be happier. Like, it feels like he genuinely believes that. And I guess what I've seen him criticize of other people, I don't know anything about Moist Critical, so I don't want to talk about him, but like, he was more so saying a lot of these people, their audience is based on like making fun of other people. And maybe SNEAKO does do that, so maybe I sound stupid if he does do that, but I'm just saying based off what I've seen, his whole point is like, a lot of people are kind of sadistic, and they're just like, you know what I mean? They're building content off of making other people, or saying like, oh, you're so cringe, or you're so sexist, whatever. Like, it's not actually based in necessarily values. Well, I think his values are kind of muddied again by like the red pill shit. I feel like if you were to like scrape it clean, at the end of the day, I think he actually does value people.
If he does, then why does he participate in like the shit fest that are the fresh and fit, like shitting on women constantly on the show? Like the after hour shows is literally just there to shit on women, and that's like where he excels.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this yesterday. I was saying that, like, I think, again, I don't know the timeline of how or when he was deplatformed or why, but I guess I was saying to you that, like, you were saying his old content was a lot more nuanced, a lot more, like, spiritually fulfilling. And now I was saying, like, after you've been deplatformed off everything, and then the audiences you can kind of tailor to already have, like, such a radical political and cultural leaning, I think it's, especially for someone as young as him, it'd be really, really hard to not just, like, cater to that audience.
Yeah, I agree, but now you just gave me what you just gave me there was a really good argument for why he doesn't actually care about people, because it's really, really hard to.
Not necessarily. I meant like okay, so when you go onto Fresh and Fit, like I watched that one episode you did, I think the most recent one. The entire chat, it doesn't take you seriously because they already disagree with your lifestyle. They don't like the fact you're in an open relationship. They don't like the fact you're liberal. So even though you make really, really good points, because that audience is already so brain broken, they're not going to see it because they're going to look at your lifestyle, and because it doesn't live up to like the points they want, like a loyal woman, because they associate that with happy family, they're not going to take your like cultural suggestions seriously. So my point is, like, I think SNEAKO's cultural suggestions, like, again, outside of the rapping shit and whatever, are kind of good faith, but then he kind of has to like just like muddy it in all this like just toxic shit so that audience doesn't just write him off, right?
No. I understand what you're saying, but then where is the message that doesn't just fully jive with Fresh and Fit?
I guess what I was saying, that clip I saw where he's like, don't waste your time all day just being on like arguing with feminists, like just focus on
what do you think he would say if you ask him what do Fresh and Fit do?
Or he was even just saying right now, he's like, women get traumatized by weak men. So he's literally, the contrapositive of that is that, like, if you're actually a strong man and you're a high value man, you make women feel safe, right?
Yeah, but how do you make them feel safe? By making it so they don't have to work, so that they could just stay at home and like provide value to your life as the man because you're the sole breadwinner.
Like I said, I think the prescriptions are pretty like illogical, right?
Yeah, but then but if you peel away the prescriptions, all you're left with is the most like basic bitch life advice. Be a strong man, like improve, try to be successful.
I guess he's saying that's not the most basic bitch advice because he's saying a lot of mainstream people don't do that. Because
I agree, a lot of mainstream people don't do that, but he's like, it seems like he's like the same as that, right? Like all the shit that he does online that he's most well known for at the moment is like getting into like really petty fights with people.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not that familiar with him.
Sure.
Which is to say, look, regardless of where you've come from or what you're facing. Now I've got like mental illness and now I've got chronic illness, and I'm like, okay, doesn't matter. Scratch it. Just reinvent the wheel in your own way. Like reinvent your life. So what? The universe sent this your way, God sent this your way, whatever it is your cross to bear, you can still succeed. But that's really hard. Knowing you can succeed, that's why I like people who walk the walk. See, if I ever want to make $1 million, I'd call you because you did it, right? Like I would call people who have done things, right? What do you think about that? Do you think people should have to walk the walk to be respected?
Yeah, I have people message me and they're like, man, I like what you do a lot. I want to start making red pill content too. Like I want to go and inspire. And I'm like, what have you done? And they're like, well, so they really want to talk about the same things, but it's like, if you don't have the degree, if you don't have the job application, then you're not going to get the job. You know, people don't take that as seriously. And that's why I'm saying, like, it's extremely important to have real world experience and to have life experience. And I'm a social media guy. Like I grew up on I grew up on my phone. I grew up on the internet. So I have to actively seek it out. A lot of people, they have, like the people that I talk to and that I respect and that I communicate with a lot of time around the world, they are accomplished men in their fields. A lot of come from like military background, security, fighters, and businessmen. They have and then social media is separate. I'm a social media guy, and I know a lot of people who watch this. They grew up like this. As I'm 24, and so they have to actively seek it out to live a better life. And there's not enough of a push for that. So yeah, you need to. If your whole experience is just video games and comment sections, then you're not going to really have a lot to talk about. So it's extremely important for you to have those conversations and to try and fail new businesses and to travel the world and to train with different people, talk to different people, have these difficult conversations, because that experience will, I think men only learn from experience. I think that men will hear what the truth is, but unless you have a traumatic, or it doesn't have to be traumatic, but unless you have an experience to base it off of, you're not going to really learn. I think men are stubborn in that sense, where you need to go through it in order to realize not to do it. Maybe that's just me.
That's me too, honestly. That's me too.
Like, I don't know. Like, that's just a ripple. Like, I don't know what any of this has to do with men, right? Like, it's like a pretty human, normal thing. People learn better through experience. Like, I don't know why you'd gender any of this, but
that's how I feel with a lot of like Jordan Peterson stuff too. But people say it is specific to men because they feel like men have been like disenfranchised. Do you agree with that? Like, do you think it makes sense that a lot of JP's content is tailored towards men?
Probably newer content he'd say that, but in the past that wasn't him at all. In the past it seemed like he was really receptive to like women's improvement stuff like that. I think that's what his job was. He was like a counselor for women, or like a therapist for women, to help them like succeed in the workplace, because a lot of his earlier stuff is talking about literally that. It's like how women are too agreeable, so he helps them learn how to negotiate for wages and stuff like that. But I mean, his current stuff is he's just fucking insane, so who the fuck knows now.
I want to challenge things, and I'm always very like, I was that way even as a child, and I was raised to be an entrepreneur. My dad had the hopes that I would run his business one day. Like, he raised me to like run businesses, and I sat there, and I think every time I came across something that felt like a challenge, I felt excited. Like, I was excited at the idea of problem solving, which is why my job now is like problem solving, like interpersonal relationships, which is so girly of me, huh? I'm a woman, so how do I make my money? By helping people with their relationships or their lives or understanding themselves, which is like such a girl thing to do. But look how I made both happen. Like, I called my dad up this year and I was like, hey, I made my 6 figures. I finally did it. It's taken me 3 years of hardcore trying, and I'm really proud of myself. And he was like, that's amazing. He's not very excited about all my content since he's pretty religious, but overall, he congratulated me on doing the one thing he knew he raised me to do, which is to be self-sufficient, to be independent, to be my own thinker. And that's really difficult in the world because, like you said, everyone is trying to tell you how to think. Everyone is telling you who to be and how to be. So I'm going to ask you guys a few more questions and then we can wrap up. So I'm very curious. You have someone come to you and they say, this is who the world's telling me to be. This is who I want to be. How do you know if it's a good decision to be who the world wants you to be versus who you need to be? How do you know it's a good decision?
I don't think that you should take anybody's advice 100%. I think you need to go apply it to your life and see how you can, because everybody has a different path, and it's not you can't copy anybody else's trail, or else you're just walking in their footsteps. So it's important to create your own path and to take different influences and be careful about the type of influence that you have. We always say that, or this is a common knowledge that you're the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
So be careful about who you're around, because if you let the wrong person in, if you let the wrong influence in, if you're not aware of who's influencing you, then you're going to be a shitty person, like the person telling you.
Okay, so
garbage.
like that sentence alone, like take away the context, he's probably implying that like the people influencing you is like the woke media, like the toxic left, whatever. Like that sentence in itself is something that I think probably conservatives say more versus like mainstream and liberals. Like you don't hear those types of pieces of advice, I guess.
That people around you influence you?
To like really, really consider and like the question the people around you and how like those values are like permeating you. So that's what I mean by like that's why I feel like that's why I'm probably extending him so much good faith, because I feel like I see those values more with conservatives, and even though I don't agree with their politics, I feel like they do just want people to like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the one benefit to conservatives is conservatives are generally pushing for a more personal type of self-improvement.
Yeah.
That is true.
And you've even said yourself, it sucks that like so many conservatives are genuinely like nice people in real life versus a lot of liberals tend to kind of suck.
And like liberals are very, very, very defeatist in mindset, and that like you've got systemic racism and supremacy and all this shit. So these are the reasons why you will never succeed in life. And it's like, okay, well, that's pretty fucking depressing.
Yeah.
And I think you can even see that a little bit in their health outcomes in terms of like how different like liberals are fucking depressed, right?
Yeah.
Like SNEAKO makes fun of people for it sometimes, but I mean, like, I don't know, it's not a good point to write off an individual's point of view, but like there is something to be said for, you know, every fucking like progressive person online is like, you know, depressed and anxious and have all these issues or whatever.
Don't libs talk all the time about implicit biases, assumptions, and value you get with your upbringing? Yeah, but I guess it's always tailored to more like woke stuff in terms of like implicit biases, not about like why are you doing the things you do and that they don't align with like your spiritual fulfillment, but more so like, oh, you're implicitly biased, that's why you date light-skinned guys over dark-skinned guys, right? Isn't that sort of what
yeah, it's always like an adherence to some like grander system of like intersectional oppression. Usually it's not usually like what personally do you value, it's like did you pay enough attention to a poor black person that might have been like microaggressed today or something, I think.
Yeah.
Be very careful, and you have to be analytical, and it's very important to question like why do you hold the beliefs that you hold?
Destiny, they're speaking systemically. Do you seriously think a liberal would go to an inner city school and be like, well, you're all black, so because of slavery and Jim Crow, you'll never succeed? Basically, yeah, I do actually. Yeah, I think that has been a lot of the messaging, more or less. Yeah, I really do think so. And some of the stories we've read about, especially there was that one black law professor, I don't remember, who was talking about doing the summit where he was speaking about like the challenging issues for the students that showed up, and there was the black TA or younger person that basically turned that entire group of students against him. Yeah, I actually do think that this is kind of the messaging, is that like you're basically fucked, you're not going to succeed, and any issue that you have is going to be the result of like racism or some shit like that. Actually, if you want to get more edgy, a really good example of this, I think, is like the WL community today. Look at how quick all of them are to throw out the race card when anything bad happens, right? People will blame the YouTube algorithm as racist. People will say that like, oh, people don't want to celebrate black creators. People like it's always race immediately for those people online. So yeah. Hi, what's up, buddy?
How was meeting Alex Jones?
Okay, I was just on stage with him. So,
did you talk off stage as well?
Nope, I went out eat with friends.
Did he just crash that, or was you knew he was going to be there?
I don't think anybody knew he was going to be there. He just kind of showed up.
You must have been starstruck.
No, it's just Alex Jones. Maybe like 2 or 3 years ago I would have been, but I think he's probably dropped off the map pretty considerably now, right?
Oh, you like care about analytics. I'm saying like the figure of Alex Jones. Like I literally would have cried. That would have been the greatest thing to ever happen to me.
Okay.
I would suck Zerka's hard cock IRL. Thank you, Kick Burner. What the fuck?
Nice. How are you doing? I believe pretty soon because I'm like flying to Tennessee tonight. So
yeah. Are you with Farha?
Well, I don't know. What do you think?
This better be a public apology.
Uh-oh.
For what?
We had like
Didn't you-
4
didn't
scheduled
you-
dates for doing content, and you bailed everyone and made up excuses. You're like, oh, I forgot I don't have a
Whoa,
car.
whoa, whoa! You bailed Panda's house,
No, I didn't. He sent me the address 30 minutes prior, and I lived an hour away.
but we were there for like 8 hours.
I said, is it probably too late to come now? It'll take me an hour to get there. And he's like, yeah, probably.
Didn't you like drag Steven's name through the mud?
We've reached that level of friendship. We haven't reached the level of friendship where you can ghost me 4 times in 1 week and getting away with it.
Didn't you like totally snake Steven?
No, I actually saved him. He was getting a ton of smoke for like shitting on Muslims all day, and then I made people start shitting on him for being a rape apologist instead.
Oh, you saved
It was strategic, yeah.
I thought you guys had beef. What the hell?
Do we?
Do we?
I mean, a little pussy changes everything.
True.
I'm kidding.
Good one,
Did you
Zerka.
guys fuck yet?
I just locked her on the balcony
No.
for 12 hours, and now we're even, so.
Steven's on a quest with the virgin.
Nice. Good one. True. Absolutely. Is that a little bit of projection, Zerka?
No, I don't like virgins.
Okay.
I mean, I like them young, but not virgin.
Mm-hmm.
I'm too old.
I don't know. The idea of like taking someone's virginity is like too much for me.
Yeah. You know you're on like the biggest cope in the fucking world right now, right? If some girl were to show up at your house, she's like, "I'm a virgin. Can you fuck me the first time?" You'd be doing it in like 2 seconds. You'd probably come before you even take your pants off. 1,000,000%.
I'm not virtue signaling. I've had that happen, and I fucked their mouth, Steven.
Okay, I don't believe you, but okay.
What the fuck?
Zerka, are you living in LA now?
Yep.
Where are you living? Like with your friends, or you're getting a place?
No, with Mike and Eli.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
Mike and Kendall's. Eli's moving out.
So what are you doing? Are you getting on Kick streaming, or like what's the plan?
Yeah, we're doing Kick, and we just got our FX camera. It's like a $25,000 camera with an encoder. So now we cannot drop connections. Even if we do a road trip stream, it'll be in 8K HD. So we're just setting up the rig today. It's like taking a day off to do that.
Nice. Aren't you guys setting up a podcast?
Yeah, we're going to fill up a room. So
Have you got the investors for that yet?
Yeah, we got the, well, I'm not going to say the money, but we got everything right now, yeah.
Nice. When can we expect a pilot to drop?
We're setting up the rig today, so for the camera, will be this week. I think we'll do Venice Beach.
Nice. So you officially moved out of Texas?
Just gonna go grab my PC and I'm done.
Okay. I actually moved out of LA. That was like the last week we could have filmed.
Where do you live now?
I live in Destiny's apartment complex because I'm crazy.
Jesus Christ.
Dude, you moved from LA to Miami?
Yeah.
All for Steven?
No.
Yeah.
Better not be. You're going to be sorely upset if you're down here for that reason. So.
Yeah. Sorely for Steven.
If it didn't exist, you wouldn't be in Miami.
No, I'd still be living in that house.
That is crazy. You guys really bonded.
Yeah.
She's being ironic right now, by the way.
I could believe I feel like you don't like LA, Farha.
I didn't love it. No, I like Miami more. I expected LA to be more like Miami, more walkable. But this is a good area. You should move down to this apartment complex too.
He was going to at one point move down here, and then for some reason, just like didn't happen. Zerka.
Yeah, it's because of these guys. Like I chilled here a week, and then good things happen. But honestly, I will be ending up in Miami. Like I can't see myself living in LA.
Steven can co-sign your rental too.
Yeah, no, I did not co-sign anybody's rental. Okay.
No, Steven, look, no matter what happens in the future, Steven will always be the greatest podcast. I don't know, if they're 25, yes, they look hotter and more developed, but definitely they start talking to me about politics and weird shit.
Can we finish the video?
True. Okay, listen, I got to finish this video. I got 6 more minutes, okay? I love you, buddy.
Okay, yeah, let's pretend that that's more content.
Okay, bye.
People are extremely like dead set on what they believe in. I don't think enough people think about why or who said it or what the motivation is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would just be very wary of that because there's a lot of people with bad intentions out there.
Absolutely. And for you, you chose a job that you went into with a lot of, I guess, purpose, money, and it's something good to you. But how do you make that decision as well? If someone came to you, I guess, even if you had that moment for yourself, like what would you say to them?
I take everything with a grain of salt. I listen to a lot of people.
Not you, her.
Oh,
Yeah, I think, again, I would take their advice and I guess use it to my advantage, but I wouldn't follow exactly what they're saying in their footsteps. I think you kind of take it and mold it into your own kind of version, I guess.
No, I agree. Okay, I'm going to ask you guys my favorite question I like to ask people. All answers are good answers. Are you ready? Okay.
It could be a bad answer, but...
No bad answers. All good answers. Okay, actually, SNEAKO, you can go second. Okay, I want to know, what is your favorite part about existing, being alive, truly?
If she said murder, would that be a bad answer?
You know what? It would be, if it's a real answer, it's a good answer, but also a questionable answer.
Being in nature, I think.
Oh,
Being in touch with nature and being like in the actual world. Is really important. I think people are so closed off from the real world nowadays. Everyone's on their phones, everyone's online all the time. Sometimes you just need a breath of fresh air and just come away from it for a minute and just breathe. And I think that's the best feeling.
Is it about being grounded?
Yeah, just the feeling is so good. Even if you just like have your feet in the grass outside.
Yes.
Like
so good. 100%. Yeah, I agree with this. No, so wait, are you a nature person? Do you actually go hiking?
I love going for walks. I mean,
okay,
there's not
I love that.
To hike in London,
I love a good walk. I'm all about the walks, girl. No, I love that. Okay, I'm glad you're walking the walk. I'm really gonna push this for the next year. If I have anyone lecture me who doesn't walk the walk, I'm really sick of it. So I'm glad you go on your walks, girly. Now, SNEAKO, answer the same question. What's your favorite part about existing?
Favorite part of existing is the finish line. Is finishing a struggle or getting over something that was difficult and then seeing the other side of it.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's the best part, especially after something that was very difficult and challenge. I like accomplishing something that was difficult. I like going. I like the growth, and I like the struggle. There's been the difficult things in my life, and now I've come to appreciate it because I'm like, well, at the end of it, I'm gonna come out a better person. I'm gonna learn something. I value struggle because people who don't have any struggle, they're not worth talking to. They're boring. They got nothing to say. They have nothing to. I just don't want to talk to those people. I think as a man specifically, going through struggle will, depending on how you react to it, will mold you and also make you stronger and make you better overall and make you learn more and help you reach that point of stoicism where you're more in control, where you'll feel the emotion, but doesn't mean you need to act on the emotion, and just helps you become more of a well-rounded individual. I think that struggle is important and something that I've come to appreciate more.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. I think struggle is so misunderstood. That suffering of life comes from every great philosopher that's ever come before us talks about how suffering and sacrifice lead to becoming good men, but good men and women, we lead through suffering. We understand ourselves when we're challenged. And then when we overcome, like every failure is a step to success. And so like life is hard by default. So I think that's a really optimistic message to send, which again, maybe I'm being fooled, SNEAKO. Maybe you're tricking me, but I genuinely get such good vibes from you, such good energy, such good intentions that I do think you're trying to help the world.
Okay, maybe I am simping because I feel like she's just saying everything I'm saying.
That's okay. Oh,
and I watched this, I'm like, okay, she's simping. But I feel like I'm saying it in like, it's not simping because I'm not doing it to impress him.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Right?
Right, yeah.
Would you call me out if you thought I was simping?
I already said I think you're being more charitable than you should be, but I mean, I don't think it's necessarily simping.
By riding bikes is simping.
And that is something that I'm going to, don't tell me if you're faking it. I don't want to know. But I believe you. I think you really are trying to help people.
I mean, if I was faking it, I think it'd be exposed by now.
You think? Okay,
yeah,
noted.
100%. There's so many people that are psychoanalyze and investigating. I really think you're underestimating how many people are watching this with a literal, like with a microscope and waiting for one of us to slip up because of
That's
how much
us.
they need me to fail. So with all those people that need me to fail, by now, if I was faking it, it would be common knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I think that was just a lovely conversation. It's also like, I don't know if it just reassured me, but I was just like, I'm telling you, this man is on a journey that I think a lot of people are underestimating. And I can't wait to see you in like 10 years. I'm going to follow your career. I expect to see you in 10 years. I expect to see you.
You too. We'll have a great conversation. I'll buy you a coffee.
I'm so glad. That makes me so happy. Really nice meeting you, girly. I'm so gled you could come on.
Lovely to meet you.
Thanks for being on.
Lovely to meet you. Guys, have a great day. Thank you so much.
You too.
Okay.
Oh, I thought this was his video. I think he just re-uploaded her video. That's okay. Wow. SNEAKO debates oppressed feminists on their victim mentality. Feminist accuses SNEAKO of vibrating with... Oh, this is where that saying came from. Damn. SNEAKO's take on religion 2 years ago. What is this?
Different fucking islands across the world. I grew up Catholic, but like most Catholics I know, I quit. It's a giant cult that begs for your money and doesn't pay taxes. And when a kid gets touched, they do this. I'm not gonna get into whatever you think God is, but organized religion is a thing of the past. These books are thousands of years old, and they still don't even believe in evolution. Look at me. You're gonna tell me that we didn't come from monkeys? I'm realizing how that existential comfort has to come from within you. Our existence doesn't matter. We're pretty much pointless. And community is pretty much an illusion. People don't care about you. People are selfish. They're not gonna look out for you. So what should we even believe in anymore? For people like me, what's the religion for the 21st century? No one asked, but these are my 10 commandments. Number 1, familia es todo.
How cute.
It's cute.
Yeah, true. Don't copy my shit.
What?
I said he was cute first.
We said it kind of at the same time.
No, I said it definitely first. Maybe your brain lags a little bit because you're a female, but
I think we're just really in sync, best friends.
No, I don't.
So I feel like what's compelling about people like him, and then why people like you, I feel like it's hard for you to reach maybe like a fresh and fit audience and people like that, is because they're giving a religion versus you. When I'm feeling very lost and depressed, about to like off myself on the balcony, you just ask me, you're like, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to do in like 10 years? You know, versus them.